A very good morning to everyone. So, this is 100 Day Study Challenge revision class. We designed this revision session to be two. The first half will be for 2 hours, and with a small recess of half an hour, then we'll continue with our next session. So, when we say revision for UPSC civil services, there are usually two models that students usually do. One, going through all the study materials like NCRT or other standard books that you have gone through. And if I want to do that as a revision, it's almost next to impossibility to cover books. So that you may have to do on your own, right? Because revising study material in a class is a very difficult task, given the time that we have. The second kind of revision that students do is previous year questions, right? These are the two ways that a revision can be done. But when we say the previous year questions, you need to be clear of what you want to get out of it. Generally, you get an idea of what range of questions are coming from previous year questions from UPSC, and then you try to see is there any repetition of that. And let me tell you, I'm saying this not just because of stage value, because I'm taking this, I'm saying this. No, it's not like that. This preparation has required many hours. So it was not an easy preparation for me. The intention is to give as much benefit and as much brownie points for you guys to revise better and easier. So if I simply take the questions and give it to you, maybe I thought that you may even sometime do on your own. Okay, so what I want to do is those are the two revisions that the first revising books you have to do on your own. You may have to spend 2 or 3 days to do that, or previous year questions. But where I come, what I can do in the form of revision is to ask an important question which may be missed. The first thing is, if as I do this compilation of previous year question from 2015 onwards, one thing that became apparent is there are no repetitions in the environment. You may have repetitions of questions in polity or other subjects, economy, particularly history and geography, you may have repetitions. But in environment, let me tell you, do not harbor the hope that the questions of past may recur in the next exams. No, it won't. I have never seen that trend ever. But so what else that you can do with the previous year question paper? Maybe you can get to know the trend. Okay, that is where I asked an important question which I've said earlier. The question why? Because if UPSC is asking a question in the civil services preliminary examination, there must be an obvious reason why they asked the question. UPSC have been very good in always being a step ahead of what everybody thinks. Whether the aspirants or coaching institute like us, no matter what we try to do, they always is one step ahead. So it's like, it's trying to get into the mind of UPSC. It's my attempt. I don't know. We have to see the oncoming preliminary examination, how this works out. Every year we're trying to do new. I'm trying to do new. This is a first try kind of an attempt that I try to do for the first time, right? So what I did is why the question was asked. And based on that, I will try to trace down any other concepts that are recently been happening or provide you with those basic informations, right? So, but to do this, we need to first segregate all the topics into themes, because only by identifying the themes, we can have some kind of idea of getting to know the mind of the UPSC. So this is what the agenda will be. From 2015 onwards, we have categorized the UPSC questions in environment in different themes, and based on the themes, we will try to analyze. Okay, so that will be the agenda, and let's continue. The first, we will take up basic ecology and some concepts that might have come. What I would like to tell you is, see, remember, everything cannot be explained because we may miss in our thoughts. I wanted to say something, but I may miss in the flow of conversation. But I would like to tell now when I remember now. I may not say it in the session. The first thing is, in the basic concepts, first thing you have to remember is questions don't repeat. And therefore, what you have to see here is, if there are some questions in one particular topic, if there are some other topics that you have gone through, which are present in your study materials, focus on those topics because they have not been asked so far. So there's a high probability of those questions to reappear, right? So remember that. So first, we will take up basic ecology and concepts. 2015 question. Okay. So which one of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? If you see this question, I'm not going into the explanation of this. That will be a waste of time also. I would like to go more into what you can get more information from this question. So when we see this, the ecosystem, the concept of ecosystem, they have asked a very simple basic concept question. And once we see this, now it becomes important to know that what are the other concepts that are similar to this. If I ask the question why, I said earlier, for this alone, I will explain the why question. From the next slide onwards, I won't go into this. I will straight away go into the discussion. So when I see why this ecosystem was asked, two things that came to my mind. The first one, the idea of ecosystem in the hierarchy of ecology. In the hierarchy of ecology, it starts from species and all the way it goes to biosphere, right? You guys remember this? So remember, this is a revision. I cannot take classes, right? So species, population, community, ecosystem, right? That hierarchy. So in that, the word ecosystem comes. The term, the concept of ecosystem comes. That is one. But that is also another reason. The other reason is, in many conventions, there are certain fundamental principles and ideas and themes that are integral to that. For example, when we take UN of CCC, one of the important principles that underlying the UN of CCC is CBDR principle, common but differentiated responsibilities. So this ecosystem is very important to a major convention called as UN Convention on Biological Diversity. Because UN Convention on Biological Diversity depends on an approach called as ecosystem approach. So because of that also they might have asked this question, because during this year there were a lot of developments that happened in UNCBD, Convention on Biological Diversity. So these could be the two reasons why the question was asked. So what can we get from this? In these two areas you need to prepare. In this hierarchy, right? What is habitat? What is niche? And in the same hierarchy also, the idea of biome comes. So what you have to do, please note down. In your revision, pay attention to this. Because questions were not asked, there's a probability that it might be asked in the next examination. Also, there's a lot of talk in the recent times about cultivars. So sometimes I will give you pointers, I will give you indications on where to focus on your preparation, on your revision, right? So note down these areas, give a special focus when you revise. There are some areas which might be very difficult for you guys to do it because it has to be done, it has to be compiled. I will present it in the slide itself. So this, you do it on your own. I would like to repeat it. I'm trying to tell you how the slide or how the presentation is going to be for the first slide. Next onwards, I will proceed with how the discussion will go, right? So if I go into the second idea, okay, what are the different conventions and what are the different principles each has? So this presents it. For example, when we say Convention on Biological Diversity, as I said earlier, the fundamental approach it has is ecosystem approach. This is, I told you, for two reasons that ecosystem question could have came. One, on the plank of basic concept, and the second, on the plank of a convention-based question, right? So this, then I applied it. Okay, is there any other conventions which has other basic principles like ecosystem approach for UNCBD? Is there any other principles that are integral to other conventions? So this is a compilation of that. So when we say UN of CCC, the two basic principles is precautionary approach and second, CBDR approach. Then coming to sites, the approach it uses is sustainable use approach. When we come to Basel Convention, On the control of transboundary movement of hazardous waste and disposal, it uses what is called as proximity principle. What is proximity principle in a very simple way? It means waste generated. Waste generally means hazardous waste. Hazardous waste generated must be treated in the site of generation itself rather than transported somewhere else. Wherever hazardous waste is generated, it has to be treated and disposed then and there, not to be taken somewhere else. That's what called as proximity principle. And the next is Ramsar Convention. Ramsar Convention uses what is called as wise use principle. Then Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention also has precautionary principle. So precautionary principle is an integral part of two conventions. Note down these intricate details also. It has been a part of two conventions, Stockholm Convention. And the last is Minamata Convention. It uses what is called as life cycle management approach. So let's move to the next. Yeah. I'm planning to share, yes. Okay. The next question, please come. Biological oxygen demand is a standard criterion for. So this is the question, biological oxygen demand. Once again, I would like to repeat it. I don't have much idea to discuss the answers. Then it becomes a question paper discussion. That I don't want to do. I want to go beyond the questions and to see relevant areas. So when we say BOD, it is relevant to water quality. And you might have understood that in the very recent times, UPSC is extremely focused on over exploitation of water resources or how the water is managed or conserved. There's been extreme focus both in prelims as well as in mains. So keeping that in mind, these are the two things that comes to my mind. One, total suspended solids. So total suspended solids. So let's say a few points about total suspended solids now. So what are total suspended solids? Here, there are two similar words here, TSS, TDS, total dissolved solids. What is the difference between them? When we say total dissolved solids, any suspended particles in the water that exceeds 2 micron in size is called as TSS. And anything which is lesser than 2 micron is TDS. So larger than 2 micron is TSS, total suspended solids. Anything which is lesser than 2 micron is TDS. Okay. So TDS constitutes TDS mostly constitutes inorganic materials. I'm sorry, I want to say TSS constitutes inorganic substances such as algae, bacteria, etc. And also, what is the prescribed limit of good water quality for TSS? It is 100 milligram per liter. 100 mg per liter is a recommended higher limit for TSS, total suspended solids, according to CPCB. Right. Let's move on to the next one, chemical oxygen demand. So biological oxygen demand. So they simply say, what is oxygen demand? Because oxygen demand is common to both. What is oxygen demand? The amount of oxygen needed for something. The amount of oxygen needed for something is called as oxygen demand. If it is needed for biological purposes, it is BOD. If it is needed for chemical purposes, it's called as COD. So the one thing which is very essential is BOD pertains only to microorganisms. It pertains only to microorganisms, or that is required by living organisms. The demand of oxygen from living organisms is BOD. The demand of oxygen from all chemical reactions, okay, all chemical reaction constitute COD. But let me add one more point here. Usually, even what is biological is chemical, right? So usually that's why we say COD value will always be higher than BOD. And because BOD deals about the demand from living organisms, BOD is usually considered to be an indicator of organic pollution. If any water body is organically polluted, BOD is what considered as a good indicator of organic pollution. COD is not, because why? What's the problem with COD? COD is like, haystack. Everything included is constituting COD. That's why its value is also higher. So COD is very non-specific. It is not a specific identity. It's not a specific identification. It's very non-specific. And the last thing, BOD is usually consumes about 5 to 6 days to arrive at the result. It's a very consuming process. But COD can be finished within a couple of hours. It's quicker, but non-specific. This is slower, but very specific. The next question about detrivores. Okay, so detrivores are those organisms which depend on dead matter for the nutrition. That's called as detrivores. Detrivores is derived from detritus. Detritus refers to dead organic matter. That's what detrivores means. So what this question could be? Why? They're saying earthworm, jellyfish, shears, woodlice. Okay. Now, one thing which is very sure is they are somehow focusing on food chain. The question here is relevant to food chain, producers, detrivores, so on and so forth. Let's see the next question also. Due to some reasons, if there is a huge fall in the population of a species of butterflies, what could be its likely consequence or consequences? So they are talking about when the population of a butterfly is lost, is removed. What happens? There is a disturbance in the food chain. If one of the member of the food chain is removed, what happens to the next? The second question, primary producers in the food chain of an ocean. Remember, the question is not repeated, but the area is repeated. So we have so far have 3 questions relevant to food chain. But the way they ask the question is very, very, very on a different grounds. One, they directly ask about detrivores. Other, they ask about primary food chain in the oceans. And the second, what if one member of the food chain is affected? But here, what likely value addition that I can do? So, in the butterfly question that I have given you earlier, they're talking about if one member of the food chain is removed, what happens to the rest? No, that was the question about. So it means butterfly is considered to be a keystone species. In fact, that question is something an indirect reference to the role of a keystone species. So that's why I've tried to search in the internet what are the important keystone species that are often been talked about in the media. These are the 3 major keystone species. Ochre sea star or generally sea star. Second, kelp forest. And the third, sea otter. The 3 most often talked species. So keystone species, what they generally mean, what they stand for. So when we say keystone species, they are considered to be the centerpiece of the food chain that if is disturbed, it results in a cascade of consequences. That's why there is even another term relevant to keystone species. It is called as trophic cascade. It's called as trophic cascade. Here, if you look at the word trophic, don't assume that it is relevant to a geographical area, geoclimatic area. It's not geoclimatic area because that's trophical. Tropical. This is trophic. Okay. H won't come there. Other tropical, either trophic. Okay. So trophic na enna, it's relevant to energy levels. நம்ம food chain பேசுறோம் இல்லையா, producers, primary consumer, that is what called as trophic levels. So they are talking about trophic cascade. So what is a trophic cascade? So trophic cascade na enna, it is an ecological phenomenon. What is this trophic cascade? It is an ecological phenomenon where changes in one species, it's an ecological phenomenon in which changes in one species and its abundance at the top of the food chain. Remember, that word is very important. At the top of the food chain, not bottom. So any species which is at the top of the food chain will have a profound impact on the entire ecosystem. Will have a profound impact on the entire ecosystem. They are called as cascade. It is called as trophic cascade. So the idea of a keystone species that you might have read and the idea of a trophic cascade is very much relevant because this topic is much often talked in the recent times. The idea of trophic cascade. Now, ochre sea star. Okay, so ochre sea star. Why it is considered to be a keystone species? Why it is considered to be a keystone species? Because for ocean ecosystem, kelp forest is very essential to sustain and to maintain the character and the nature of those ecosystems. Probably, before I go to the ochre sea star, let me say a few words about kelp sea star. I'm sorry, please come. Kelp forest. So what basically kelp forest is? It is an underwater ecosystem which is found only in temperate and cold waters. It is not found in tropical warm waters. Kelp forest is found only in cold temperate waters. So, but there is exception. Always in biology, in ecology, we cannot say with absoluteness that this is what it is. There is only one exception of a kelp forest species which are found in tropical waters. Usually, it won't be found, with one exception. It is called as laminaria. Laminaria is only one species of kelp forest which can be found in tropical forests. But let me add another basic thing. Even though this looks like a plant, a well-grown large plant, it is in fact a macroalgae. It's an algae that grows in larger size. Look at the word macro. Macro means bigger. So this macroalgae belonging to what is basically called as red algae is what forms the larger portion of kelp forest. So kelp forest is mostly found in cold temperate waters with only one exception called as laminaria. So what this map talks about? This map talks about the major distributions of kelp forest in the world. Okay, so that's what this map explains to you about, and I have plans to share this PDF with you. So the extra information which I give you in the discussion, please make a note of it. So kelp forest is very essential to maintain the biodiversity. But what about the sea star? There are some animals which munches on the kelp forest so fast, so much that kelp forest, if it is lost, every species which depends on them also will be lost. The one who eats this kelp forest so much includes mussels and barnacles. Mussels and barnacles. They are more like chippies of the It belongs to them, barnacles and mussels. So what is the role of the sea star? Sea star is primarily the predator of mussels and barnacles. So sea star, in a very indirect way, protects the kelp forest by predation upon the mussels and the barnacles which eats the kelp forest. So that is the reason why it is considered to be a keystone species. One thing I suddenly remembered, laminaria, I told you it is found, the only species which is found in tropical waters, right? Where Abdina? Galapagos Island. Galapagos Island. Yeah. The next one, sea otter. So sea otter is a mammal. Even though it looks like a rat, it is an aquatic mammal. Then how it is called as a sea, why it is called as a keystone species is because they also do the same function like a sea star. They are also primarily predating upon another species which eats kelp forest. It's called a sea urchins. Sea urchins. So sea urchins also targets kelp forest, and the sea otter kills and eats sea urchins. That is also another role sea otter does. By the very nature of the sea otter's behavior, they are help in the maintenance and the conservation of salt marshes. So this is about, I would like to tell you, I try to do as much Googling and searching as possible and integrate it here. But I can't say that it's exhaustive, but it's best of the efforts. So these are the major species that are in the recent news reports in both Indian and the international media. So that's included. Now, the next question. Which of the following leaf modifications occurs in the desert areas to inhibit water loss? So they are particularly asking about desert adaptations. So desert adaptations of plants or animals. You can actually find a reference to this concept in 12th standard biology. Okay, so when you refer, pay attention to this special chapter that you can find in 12th. I think it's chapter 15th or 16th. I'm not very sure. I think it comes under the topic of ecosystem. You can find reference for that. So pay special attention to this particular idea, desert adaptations of plants and animals. And it is in this desert adaptations of plant animals, the question asked is there any other such adaptation we see in the recent times? The one is tropicalization, the second is borealization, which have already been discussed in the dispatches. So moving on. So tropicalization, borealization, make a note of it and have a preparation, basic information. Remember, I would like to say another point also. So, okay, I'll see that next. So that was something that talks about desert adaptations. Is there any other area that we can correlate with that? Yes, these are considered to be important rules or principles that are talking about adaptation principles. Allen's rule, Bergman's rule, Glogger rule, and also what is called as mimicry and camouflage. Let's talk about each one in a very simple way. So what is Allen rule is talking about? So Allen rule talks about, remember, I would like to emphasize the key things. Even though this slide will be shared with you, you may miss this. So please make a note of it. Allen rule talks only about endotherms. Endotherms means warm-blooded animals. They don't talk about all. They talk only about warm-blooded animals. Allen's rule. So you take a warm-blooded animal, the warm-blooded animals, endotherms, found in the tropical region, equatorial zone, and which is found in the polar zone. You compare them, there is a vast difference in sizes. So that's what they say. So what he says, endotherms from colder climates, they usually have shorter appendages. The appendages in other solrangana, the end parts of the body like this, ear, hands, feet, etc. So limb, ears and tails, it will be shorter. Appendages will be shorter for endotherms in colder climates. This is called as Allen rule. What is Bergman rule? In Bergman rule, idoda corollary. Bergman rule is a corollary of Allen rule. He says within a species. Now this is not talking about endotherms, he is talking about within a species. For example, you take a bear, brown bear and the polar bear, within a species. They belong to the same species, brown bear and the polar bear. You compare the size, he says individuals in colder climate tend to be bigger. So Allen rule says appendages will be shorter. Bergman says the body will be more bulkier. They will be more larger in colder climates. Whereas those which are in tropical climates, they will be smaller in size. They will be smaller in size. Why? Why this adaptation happens? Because it helps to regulate heat more effectively. So what is the concept that is hidden here? Surface to the volume of body ratio. The third one is Glogger rules. What it says? It's a very simple. Within a species. This may be very unique. It may be kind of an over projection, but to make it simple to understand, polar bear ஏன் வெள்ளையா இருக்கு, brown bear ஏன் brown இருக்கு? Because they live in warmer climates. Just apply the same example. It says within a species, individuals in more humid and forested regions tend to have a darker pigmentation. அதாவது more humid and forestedல எந்த species இருக்காங்களோ they will be darker compared to those in drier and lighter environments. So why? Because two things. One, against UV protection, and second, forest la dark irukum poludhu they are effectively camouflaged. They merge with the background. They can easily hunt and get the food easily. So for protection against UV radiation, because darker means you have more melanin pigmentation in your skin. More melanin means not much of UVB can enter your skin. So it means more UV protection. And the camouflage in different habitats. And the fourth one is mimicry and camouflage. So mimicry means, like we usually know what a mimicry is. The mimicry is done by animals also, but not in the way we humans do for stage shows. What a mimicry is, when one animal resembles the behavior or the external morphology of another animal. ஒன்னு பிஹேவியரை மிமிக் பண்ணோம் நம்ம வாய்ஸ் பண்ற மாதிரி. when one animal mimics the behavior or external morphology of another animal for protection, it is called as mimicry. A good example for that is one snake in India, one of the most poisonous snakes in India is crate. It's also called a banded crate. இவர மாதிரி very poisonous. It's extremely potent neurotoxin. But there is another snake also called as wolf snake. Wolf snake அவங்கள மாதிரியே கருப்பா இருப்பாங்க. The crate will be extremely black with a white band. Wolf snake is non-poisonous, non-venomous, but it also has same appearance like a crate snake, so that no snake or no person can approach it. So this is for its own protection. Example, wolf snake and crate snake is an example of what is called as mimicry. So mimicry எதுக்கு பண்றாங்க? Mainly to protect oneself. அதில் என்ன பண்றாங்க? One, they either mimic the behavior or they either mimic the external appearance, morphology. So that's what we can talk about relevant to that topic. The next one, consider the following which are relevant to that which spreads plant diseases. So that which spreads plant diseases. So once we come into this, that which spreads plant diseases, what we need to focus on? One, pollinators. Because that which spread the diseases, there are also something relevant, what is called as pollinators. So pollinators. Second, pest and pest control. I will talk about this in a later slide, so no problem, don't worry. And the third is beneficial organisms. So these are the three areas that it's better for you to be prepared if you go with how the UPSC trend continues. Pollinators, pests, and beneficial microorganisms. The next, which of the following have species that can establish a symbiotic relationship with other organisms? So in this question, they are asking one of the basic area in environment, interspecies relationship. So they're asking about interspecies relationship. So this constitutes the list of interspecies relationship, but here there are certain areas that you might be careful about because this you may not have come across in standard books. So that includes neutralism. Neutralism is nothing happens to nobody. Nothing happens to nobody. It means 0, 0. Neither population is affected. When neither of the population, species A, species B, then it is called as neutralism. The next one is called as mutual inhibition competition type. Mutual inhibition. What is this mutual inhibition? It means both are affected. It's like, one organism affects the other and the other in turn affects the other, the one original species. So when both are affected, affected means harmed. It is called as mutual inhibition competition type. And the next is proto cooperation. இதெல்லாம் நீங்க பார்த்திருப்பீங்க, அதனால I'm not going into that. The next one is proto cooperation. What is proto cooperation? Is both are beneficial. Remember, let me tell you, there is another similar one called as mutualism. In mutualism also both are benefited. In proto cooperation also both are benefited. In proto cooperation also both are benefited, plus plus. But one difference between the both is in mutualism it is obligatory. They have to be together. A good example we can say here is coral reefs. Coral reefs. But when we talk about proto cooperation, it is not obligatory. They should not be together for the benefit to happen. They can come, they can move away. In fact, to be say in certain words, rhizobium is considered to be an example of proto cooperation. For example, when you take rhizobium, which colonizes the roots, and not only roots, stems also. நீங்க யூசுவலா புக்ல படிச்சிருப்பீங்க, ரூட்னு கிடையாது, ஸ்டெம்மையும் காலனைஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க. Which colonizes the roots and stems of leguminous plants. You may think that if you remove the rhizobium plants, the plant has to die. Or if the rhizobium is not present in the root or the stem of the leguminous plants, it has to die. No. Rhizobium is in fact a soil bacterium. It can live alone. So it is not obligatory for them to be together. But if they are together, they both are benefited. If they are apart also, they are doing fine with their life. So in fact, as I said earlier, the rhizobium leguminous plants is an example of proto cooperation, a special classification within mutualism. Another example also I will say with respect to rhizobium, mycorrhiza. But even though mycorrhiza is very important, because almost 96% of tree species have mycorrhiza in the roots. Mycorrhiza na enna? Myco na fungi na artham. The word myco means fungi, mycology, study of fungi. Rhiza means roots. So fungus living in association with the roots of plants is called as mycorrhiza. They can be living alone, but if they're together, they'll benefit well. Something same to rhizobium, right? And for mutualism, which is obligatory, I told you what is the example for the mutualism? Coral reefs. That is also another example I would like to tell you for mutualism, which is obligatory. Lichens. Lichens, it's obligatory. And therefore, it is mutualism, right? So, based on that previous question, this is where you may have to prepare. Other areas, it's present in the standard books, you do your revision. See, neutralism is mostly it is relevant to species which are not related. It's something like, இது எப்படின்னா சொல்லணும்ன்றதுக்காக சொல்லுவாங்க தெரியுமா, like we are in the election time, people do speak for the sake of speaking. So when nothing is done. For example, what is the connection between a soil bacteria and a lion? புரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? So அப்படி சம்பந்தமே இல்லாதவங்க we use the word neutralism, right? It's a far-fetched imagination of the interrelationship. Okay. Okay, next. What is a filter feeder? Okay, this question, filter feeder. தெரியலப்பா, ஏன் இந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்டாங்கன்னு தெரியல. I couldn't try to trace back or try to find the நதி மூலம் ரிஷி மூலம் சொல்லுவாங்க, என்னால் கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியல. பட் ஃபில்டர் ஃபீடர்னு யார் யாரெல்லாம் சொல்லலாம் அப்படின்னா, in addition to this, it also includes clams. Clams, sponges, corals. And when it comes to mammals, there is also another mammal called as baleen whale. They are all considered to be filter feeders. Okay, so just some extra little bit of information that I wanted to. Then next, if rainforests and tropical forests are the lungs of the earth, then surely wetland function as its kidneys. In fact, sometimes I wonder whether it's a paper 1 question or a paper 2 question. Sometimes they are asking us to kind of comprehend the question. Okay, teeth and nalla irukolla exam appo maybe will be helpful. So this is something very, if you understand the question, this is very easy ma. If adadu enna if rainforests and tropical rainforests are lungs of the earth, then wetland function as a kidney. They are asking why it is. Why the wetlands are called as lungs. Lungs enna பண்றாங்க? I'm sorry, kidney enna பண்றாங்க? Purify பண்றாங்க. It purifies. So where it comes purifies? That's what it is. So sometimes you don't have to know exactly the concept. Environment is about a lot of use your common sense. Okay, backed by your reading. இந்த மாதிரி கொஸ்டின்ல விடவே கூடாது, அல்வா மாதிரி. சம்டைம்ஸ் கண்ணா ரெட் லட்டு தின்ன ஆசையான் மாதிரிலாம் வரும். ஓகே, பட் இந்த மாதிரி கொஸ்டின்ல நெவர் லீவ் இட். பட் I'll say some question which you should not touch also. Right. சரி, இப்போ we saw that, right, wetlands is considered as kidneys, rainforest as the lungs of the earth. இந்த மாதிரி பட்ட பேர் எதுக்கெல்லாம் வச்சிருக்கோம், where we have given the tag name for others. Mangroves. So mangroves are called as generally nurseries of the seas. They are considered as, or they are called as nurseries of the seas. Why? Because it provides home for many marine species during the early stages of life. So why, what it is called and why is it called? The next, kelp forest, which I said earlier, that we discussed earlier, kelp forest. So kelp forest is also called as underwater rainforest. It is called as underwater rainforest because it looks like a very forest itself. It's a dense towering canopies that provides habitat and shelter for many marine species. Self-explanatory. நீங்க நிறைய சமயம் pictures ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கங்க. Okay, the words may forget, but one picture may help you many things. So kelp forest, remember that picture. The next is peatland. So peatland is known as carbon sinkers. Carbon sink or carbon sinkers. So what a peatland அப்படின்னா, it is a wetland with partially degraded or partially decomposed organic matter. It is called as peatland. In fact, I would like to connect this to another topic also. In the process of carbonification என்னன்னா, a tree that dies and gets into the soil and loaded with more and more layers of soil, it slowly transforms into coal, right? The process of conversion of an organic matter into coal is called as carbonification. The carbonification நடக்குது தெரியுமா, அதாவது a dead tree changing into a coal is called as carbonification. இதுல கடைசியா வர பெஸ்ட் கோல் தான் என்ன? What is the best form of a coal? Anthracite. But what is the beginning of it? Peat. So that's what they're talking here also. And the decomposed இருக்கு தெரியுமா, partially decomposed, that's the beginning of that. So that's also what called as peat. So what is it known for? It is known for carbon sinkers. And why it is so important? Because it constitutes only 3% of the Earth's land surface, but in fact 1/3 of the world's soil carbon is found in the peats. Because with just a 3%, it has 1/3 of the world's soil carbon, and therefore it is called as a carbon sink. So this peat land can be seen in two contexts. One, the carbonification process I told earlier, and the second, carbon sink. Right. Let's move to species and wildlife. I made a small problem. I made a small error in terms of arranging that. I wanted to have conservation and species and wildlife, but in the process of things, I merged them together, and it was already time was taking too much, and I couldn't separate it. So there might be some here and there crosstalk. The crosstalk between conservation and species areas, please adjust with that. Right. So species and wildlife. In 2015 and 2016, the one question on national aquatic animal, and the second, state butterfly. So these were the two questions. So this obviously is from current affairs, but there is some idea you may get why the question would have been asked. Because species of importance, species of national importance or national recognition. Because one is about national aquatic animal, obviously what it was? Gangetic dolphin, yes. The next is state butterfly. Now, let's talk. I know it will be extremely large. So what this is about? Sir, இதை நான் ரிவைஸ் பண்ண முடியுமா? இந்த மாதிரி டேட்டாவை என்ன பண்ணுங்கன்னா, don't try to memorize it. Try to see it, maybe once or twice in a 4-day revision schedule or whatever that you have. Try to see it as many times as possible, as repeatedly, and hope that your memory works in the examination time. அதை நம்ம பண்றதை பண்ணிடலாம். Let's leave everything to the God or the situation, whatever it is. So the states, what is its state animal, what is its state's bird, state tree, and state flower. Of course, I know it's too factual. It may be too burdened during the revision time, but as I said earlier, I wanted to give relevant information to you guys to as quickly as possible. இதில் ஏதோ ஒன்று பார்த்து, இதில் ஏதோ ஒரு கொஷினை கேட்டு, ஏதோ ஒரு வகையில் நீங்கள் ஆன்சர் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா, that was my whole intention. So this is more like very factual. Please go through this. இப்போ இல்லை, நம்ம கிளாஸ் முடிஞ்சிடும். So we'll move to the next. Yeah, this one we will see. Now this is about also, there is also recent times when butterfly is also been recognized as state species, state butterfly. So Maharashtra, the state butterfly is blue mormon. Not only that we need to know why, but we also need to know its description. That is very important. So when we say blue mormon, it is found in Sri Lanka as well as in India. But when we come to the blue mormon of Maharashtra, it is actually restricted to Western Ghats. It is mostly a species endemic to the Western Ghats. Second, Karnataka. The state butterfly of Karnataka is what is called a southern bird wing. See, remember, நீங்க do not try to be as linear as possible. Even though you may think like that, you may have been learned to think like that, you need to be non-linear in the way you process information. Even though we say here Karnataka and the state butterfly southern bird wing, now one thing what you understand is, even though it has a bird wing, it is not a bird. That was a question. So in the species name பார்க்கும்போது நீங்க என்ன தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறீங்கன்னா, it is a butterfly species. So this is an extra layer of information that you need to process, not in a very linear way. This leading to this, leading to that. Don't be like that. Be non-linear also. So in the slide உங்களுக்கு நான் ஷேர் பண்ணும்போது be that way, because you will be exposed to lot many new things. I am very sure. இல்ல நிறைய பேர் படிச்சிருப்பீங்க, but there are some that you may not have known to. So when you come across this new, always see what are the other layer of information that is which is hidden inside. Okay, so you are exposed to these different species, and they all belong to bird. So southern bird wing, so it is a state butterfly of Karnataka, and it's the largest butterfly in India. So that's what the speciality of it. The southern bird wing. இப்போ லிங்க் நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல ஈஸியாக ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு bird which is very big, a butterfly which is like a bird, so it is the largest. Uttarakhand, common peacock. It's not a bird, it's a butterfly. So Uttarakhand, what is the uniqueness? It is found in high altitude Himalayas, about 2,100 meters. Tamil Nadu, Tamil Yeoman. Okay. Arunachal Pradesh, Kaisar-i-Hind, means Emperor of India. So what is the uniqueness about this? It has a very, not largest, but a big wingspan, about 90 to 120 millimeter wingspan. And where it is found? Here the uniqueness of this comes. Eastern Himalayas. And the last is Kerala, and its state butterflies Buddha Mayuri, which means it is identified, it is something similar to something, an iconography related to Buddha. So it's this layer of information that I have compiled. Let us move to the next. Okay, next. Species to wildlife topic. With reference to dugong, a mammal found in India, which of the following statements are correct? Dugong. Here, pay special attention to the questions asked. As I have gone through these questions, I cannot call it as a trend, but a trend. ஏன் ட்ரெண்ட்னு சொல்ல முடியல அப்படின்னா, if once you say a trend is known, you have to predict. Only when it is predictable, I can call it as a trend. But I cannot claim that I can predict UPSC. No. But still some trend is there. என்ன trend அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, so remember, when you revise your current affairs for environment, what are the areas that you need to focus? Most importantly, habitat. This is a trend that I'm seeing. So remember, when you revise, always focus on the habitat or where it is found. Second, it's dietary preference. What it eats, primarily what it eats. The third, which you need to focus when you revise, is its behavior. Means nocturnal or diurnal, solitary or social, the behavioral patterns of it. And the last but not the least is its a conservation status. When we say conservation status, there are two subcategories within the conservation status. One with respect to WPA 1972, which schedule it comes under, and the second with respect to IUCN. So these are the four minimum areas that you need to be know. நீங்க இது பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா ஒரு 3 statement question, if it comes, at least 1 or 2 you can predict. So what about the third one? UPSC is always about the guesswork, you know. So we have to guess the remaining. Yes? Enama? Yeah, we just have to do something, some kind of a tricky or magicry. Yeah. So நீங்க பாத்தீங்க கவனிங்க, இந்த ஸ்பீஷிஸ் வந்தாலே ஸ்பீஷிஸை பத்தி கேட்கும் பொழுது கண்டிப்பா இதுல ஏதாவது ஒன்னாவது இருக்கும். It's only 4 small headings. Pay attention to this, very special attention to this. So இப்படி நீங்க பண்ணும் பொழுது your revision can become more focused rather than engulf, gorging up too much of facts and getting so overwhelmed. This may help you to focus much more in your revision. Right. Now comes the difficult part. So dugong, they asked a question about dugong and so many other species. Why they could have asked this question? What could be the reason why they asked this question? Now that is a very, very difficult task. So I'm going to give you a kind of a template with respect to species, sir. What species that I need to prepare? Right? Somebody says schedule 1 species, sir. It's going to be very difficult. So when I try to do that, here also a patternless pattern. நான் சொன்ன தெரியுமா பேட்டர்ன் கிடையாது, ட்ரெண்ட் கிடையாது, ஆனா ட்ரெண்ட். அந்த மாதிரி ட்ரெண்ட் இல்லாத ஒரு ட்ரெண்ட் இருக்கு. என்ன ட்ரெண்ட்னா, there is one program run by the Indian government called as Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. Sorry, I can't write it. Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. The Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats is a centrally sponsored scheme of MOEF. So centrally sponsored nale enna varano, ratio of expenses shared between union and the state. Central sector na 100% borne by the center. That's a very simple terminologies. So it's a centrally sponsored scheme. Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. What I have seen is most of the species questions comes from the 17 species. I'm sorry for that. 22 species. 22 species that has been recognized for conservation under the scheme. Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. They have identified 22 species for conservation. You try to give a look. The 22 species: snow leopard, bustard, including floricans, dolphin, hangur, nilgiri-tar, marine turtle, dugong. It's a birds. Edible nest swiftlet, Asian wild buffalo, Nicobar megapode, Manipur brown antlered deer. How many times question have repeated? So there are some swamp deer, Asiatic lion, rhinoceros, vultures. So what is that? There are certain other species which are yet to be asked. Focus on those. So this 22 species must be your first priority when you want to revise about the species of importance for the subject. Sir, in the species la enna sir padikano? As I said earlier, illa one mattum extra include panika threat. What threat they faces? The 4 I told you, right? In addition to that, the 5th one, threat. What is a major threat for them? See, try to remember them in one-worded or two-worded ideas. Don't try to read as a one paragraph. Because here you are doing revision. ஏதாவது ஒரு சின்ன hint இருந்தாலும் ஆன்சரை கெஸ் பண்ணணும். That's what your whole goal is. Okay? If you start reading about this, I want to warn you guys, don't try to read this. You will end up in a mess. Okay? So try to make sure as short as possible and finish it within 3 or 4 days, not more than that. Your whole revision for environment should be completed in 3 to 4 days, which is what ideally I will suggest for you. So the 22, in fact, in the recent time, there's a lot of talk about caracal, red panda, clouded leopard. I don't know. It may come. If you say, based on what the trend goes, I will say most possibly this would be the template from where UPSC may asking. Either they will ask the species and the distribution, or they will ask the distribution which is found. They can do both ways. You understand what I'm saying? They can use this data to ask this question, or they ask this question to that. In either way, it will work. So it's a two-way traffic. So other than non-linear reading படிங்க, linear படிக்காதீங்க. உங்களுக்கு சொல்லும்போது linear தான் சொல்ல முடியும். But I'm opening up the possibility. Try to be as non-linear as possible. I'm sorry if I start giving the important points for all the 22. Once again, I won't have the time to complete to touch on other areas. So I'm moving on. But I'll give this for your reference. So if you say, so I also would like to give you other important species which are in the news. There will be some repetition also. See, the important species other than that, 22 species, but also seen in the news. For example, denison barb, also called as Miss Kerala, red sanders, which has been in the news, but question have been asked earlier. So mostly the varad. But still it's been in the news. Pangolin also have been asked, but this one not. Himalayan brown bird, great Indian bustard already asked. So the mining tiger asked, Asiatic lion asked, but the other one have not been. So focus on that. Is it too overwhelming? But in the நான் சொன்ன இல்லையா 3-4 days you have to take revision இல்லையா. I want to tell you guys, இது எல்லாத்துக்குமே mostly there are so many institutes working on this idea. கண்டிப்பா ஒரு ஷார்ட் நோட்ஸ் கண்டிப்பா எங்கன்னா இருக்கும். Do a simple Google search for the 4 areas I told you, the 5 areas I told you, make a short notes and move away. Okay, so 3-4 days spend for this. The next one. Now this one, in which of the following regions of India are you more likely to come across? Remember, what's the question? Habitat. You see that? Even earlier also there was a question on habitat. What is found where? Which species is found in which place? This is one of the area that UPSC wants to test you. So, great Indian hornbill, right? Also in 2017, when you see, if you want to see gharials in the natural best habitat, it's kind of the same pattern that emerges, slowly that emerges. So habitat of a particular species is extremely important in your revision. So I have given you a link. Okay, you can also access this link, go to your browser and do this. In the important species oda habitat include பண்ணிருக்காங்க. So you can use this web link. If at all you want, you can use this source. I've given the web link also. The next one, with reference to red sanders, which I said earlier, sometimes seen in the news. Consider the following statements. Once again, see, it is a tree species found in a part of South India habitat. It is one of the most important trees in the tropical rainforest areas of South India. But of course, it's a wrong statement because it belongs to Eastern Ghats. So you see the trend, you can understand the way the question are asked. Focus on that. Okay, red sanders. Is there any other species which has been in the news of similar importance? I've combined it. So other important plant species. Remember, earlier we have seen animals, 22 animals plus many other species. Is there any plant species that has been in the news for its importance? I try to combine it. The first one is pitcher plant, Nepenthes casiana. And it is found only in where? It is an endemic species found only in India. In fact, it is also the only insectivorous plant found in India. There are so many insectivorous plants. Among the many insectivorous plants, Aldrovanda, okay, Walter wheel, so many other kind of insectivorous plants. This Nepenthes அப்படின்ற ஒரு insectivorous plant is the only one found in India, and that also in Meghalaya, Khasi hills of Meghalaya. So pitcher plant. The next is Malabar rosewood. Malabar rosewood. It's also called a Dalbergia. Sometimes they may ask you Malabar rosewood, or they will say Dalbergia. So it's a hardwood tree. It means it's used for furniture purposes. Hardwood tree means it is used for furniture purposes. And where it is found? Native to Western Ghats. Dalbergia, furniture, Western Ghats. Black vanilla. It is not a tree actually. It is a shrub. It's a perennial shrub. It is not a tree. It is used mainly for its aromatic beans. It is mainly used for its aromatic beans. Then Syzygium travancoreum. Why it is very important? It is very important because it is very rarely found in India. So because of its very rarity of the species, the Syzygium has been very important for our consideration. And the last is Dipterocarpus. It is also an endangered species with only about 14 individuals, where it is found Kodagu district of Karnataka. So here, there is also another plant that I would like to talk about. It's called as Conocarpus tree. Conocarpus tree. See this Conocarpus tree, why it is important? Remember, இதெல்லாம் எங்கேருந்து எடுத்திருக்கேன்னா current affairsல இருந்து important species I have noted down. And the current affairsல வந்து another important tree is Conocarpus tree. Why it is important? Why it was in the news? Because it is an invasive tree. Conocarpus is invasive, very invasive in nature. Because it has been banned in 2 states. Gujarat and Telangana have banned the use of Conocarpus. There is also another tree in India, tree species in India, but not in the recent times, but maybe 7-8 years back, this tree was in the news. That was eucalyptus. One of the main issue or the concern associated with eucalyptus plantations across the country, one of the good thing about eucalyptus is it requires very little maintenance. Therefore, the input cost for growing eucalyptus is extremely low. You plant it, you care for it in the initial few years, it will grow on its own. But there are a lot of economic benefits also. It is used for oil, medicinal oil, eucalyptus oil. It is also an important raw material for paper and pulp industry. But there is one major concern. Eucalyptus is a fast growing tree. It grows very faster. But one problem is it consumes a lot of groundwater. The groundwater consumption of eucalyptus is very high because it is a very rapid transpiration tree. அவங்க எடுக்கிற தண்ணியை they lose it very much. It transpires very fast, very high level. அப்ப கீழே எடுத்து மேலே விட்டுறாங்க, transpire பண்ணிடுறாங்க. Because of its high rate of transpiration, there is a high level of groundwater consumption as well. அதனால தான் it is generally, even though scientifically we don't say that it leads to desertification, there is a belief, wide held belief, that growing eucalyptus may result in lowering of the water table. And that is why even Karnataka a few years back, they try to demotivate or not encouraging the farmers to grow eucalyptus because they are already in water stress. They don't want the water stress to become too severe. So they are not motivating or encouraging the farmers to grow eucalyptus. So another tree in consideration is eucalyptus. Okay. Okay. So the next one, in 2016, there was this question. Recently, our scientists have discovered a new and distinct species of banana. In which part of India has it been discovered? Once again, see habitat. The question of habitat, where it is found, or where it was the whole thing happening. Right. The answer was actually what? Andaman Islands. Yes. So here. So in this way, is there any other species Also been in the news in terms of any discoveries or importance. Let's talk about that. So Vasugi indicus. This species was in the news. Vasugi indicus. What is the reason? This is a question that I personally believe that may come very much, because this Vasugi indicus is in fact a fossilized snake of ancient times. Okay, why it is important is because it is considered to be very longest. Even the present anaconda will become a miniature sized version before this. It's considered to be 15.2 meters long. The fossil remains that we have extracted from Kutch of Gujarat. The fossil where it is found? From Kutch of Gujarat. And it is considered to be the longest snake, even larger than the present day anacondas. So Vasuki indicus was a name given to that. Maybe the name itself will attract a good attention from the UPSC. The next is Omorgus moreshwar. What is this Omorgus moreshwar? It is a newly discovered Indian beetle. So this is about discovered species, the newly discovered. A newly discovered beetle. இது பீட்டில் எப்படின்னா ஹைவேல ஒரு டயர் கீழே மாட்ட மாதிரி இருக்கு, but it's a live one. Okay, so Omorgus moreshwar, it is a beetle. What is the thing? It's a beetle. But what is its importance? I'll say the importance first. It is considered to it will help us to detect the time of death of an animal or humans. So it can be helped much in forensic investigation. This Omorgus moreshwar. Why? Because it usually, okay, another point, it is also usually called as hide beetles, because animals oda skin la poi irupangala. They always prefer to live in animal skin. So it is also called as hide beetles, recently discovered. So this guy have been good in hiding so far, but now we got them. The next is, the third one is clouded tiger cat. So this clouded tiger cat, also called as oncilla. The other name for this clouded tiger cat is oncilla. So as the picture is given, it's exactly what it picture. It's not making fun of you. It's actually what the picture is. So what is it? Remember this picture. Maybe you can remember the concept very easily. It's a small spotted cat. It's a small spotted cat from Central and South America. So this is not about India. Just because we have talked so far doesn't mean it belongs to India. It is from Central and South America. Clouded tiger cat from Central and South America. And what is it unique for? It is very good in climbing trees and hunting small prey. Because it's very small, they can hunt small prey. And what is the uniqueness about this? It's the smallest wild cat in the Americas, both the north and the south. It's the smallest wild cat, just 1.5 to 3 kilograms, even smaller than the most domestic house cats. This is in fact a cat species which has not been discovered so far. This has been discovered for the first time. That's the reason it was in the news. So the uniqueness about this clouded tiger cat, it looks like a tiger, but it's a cat. Okay. The next question, Karai camel. The question on Karai camel in the year 2016. It is capable of swimming up to 3 kilometers in seawater. It survives by grazing on mangroves. It lives in the wild and cannot be domesticated. Karai camel in 2016. So this is a guy who loves to eat mangroves. So mangrove enganala neenu poi saapduvaanga. That is what uniqueness about this. Because mangroves in estuarine regions, often inundated, they usually swim across, catches them, and then tries to eat them. But in terms of its ability to, it lives in the wild and cannot be domesticated, it's wrong. It can be domesticated as well. So that's wrong. So the answer actually is 1 and 2. An exception, I've given the answer. Okay, Karai camel vandirukku. இதில் நாம் என்ன பார்க்கலாம்? What can we say here relevant to this? Okay, here we can say what is called as International Big Cat Alliance, recently been in the news. International Big Cat Alliance. It's a very important news. We are talking a lot about cat and other species. So International Big Cat Alliance, what is the importance of this is because 2023 is the 50 years of Project Tiger. India observed 50 years of Project Tiger in year 2023 because in 1983 we first rolled out Project Tiger. So in commemorating the 50th year of Project Tiger, we formed what is called as International Big Cat Alliance. So International Big Cat Alliance, its headquarters in India. India is a headquarters of this alliance. And one-time budget support of 150 crores. இதுல முக்கியம் 150 crores one-time budget தான் important. One-time budgetary support of 150 crores, and this will be for 5 years from 2023 to 2027-28, which means this 150 crores for this 5 years. Don't think the alliance is for 5 years. This the fund is for 5 years. Then what is the main aim of this? What is the aim? Securing the future of big cats and also the landscapes, means species and its habitat. The big cat species and also its habitat, how to protect them is the aim of this International Big Cat Alliance. And this question, this area also can be a basic area. Be aware, there are what is called as 7 big cats. Directa kuda varala. 7 big cats na yaar yaar is given: tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, puma, jaguar, and the cheetah. The 7 big cats. These are the 7 big cats. And in the 7 big cats, India is home to 5 big cats. So there are 7 big cats, out of which India is home to 5 big cats. It includes tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, and cheetah. But cheetah is actually a bongatam. But because it is now present in India, we have to say whether the origin is Africa or not, it doesn't matter. Still, we have to consider it is present in India. So we are home to these 5 big cats. So iduve kuda question varala directly. And the uniqueness about this International Big Cat Alliance is that this agreement has been designed on the pattern of International Solar Alliance. It means it is open for membership for all countries who wish to join. So this is ideated on the basis of International Solar Alliance, which wanted to make it as democratic, as engaging as possible. So that is very uniqueness about this alliance. It is modeled on the basis of International Solar Alliance. Then few more points. What is the nature of this International Big Cat Alliance? It is conceived as a multi-country, multi-agency coalition of who are the members. Here once again, pay attention to the fact 96 big cat range countries. So there are 96 big cat range countries. So does it mean that this Big Cat Alliance can be a member, can be a partnership of only big cat range countries? No. Non-range countries can also become partners. Third, not only them, even scientific organizations who are working in the field of big cat conservation. So these 3 are the membership nature: range countries, non-range countries, and scientific organizations in this field. They can become members. And next one, what is the aim of this? How they are going to work? A common platform of a centralized repository. That's how they're going to work. They're going to work on the model like it's considered to be a common platform of a centralized repository. And the last is, in addition to that, the financial support to leverage and strengthen the conservation agenda in the field to arrest the decline in big cat population and reverse a trend. So they are trying to focus on financial support as well. So this is about the International Big Cat Alliance. Maybe you can find information about this in any good current affairs magazines. Just I wanted to add as a ready-made reference for you guys. And one more thing, this International Big Cat Alliance also has a convergence of its aims with the climate change goals as well. Maybe make a note of it. It is also having its goal convergence with climate change as well, because climate change affects natural ecosystems and also the species living with it. So climate change also has an impact on biodiversity as well. So on the biodiversity damage nala big cat பாதிக்கப்படக்கூடாதுன்னு they also have a convergence with climate change goals. The next question. According to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which of the following animals cannot be hunted by any person except under some provisions provided by law? Gharial, Indian wild ass, Indian buffalo. In fact, நீங்க அந்த சொன்ன திரும்ப முதல்ல சொன்ன 22 species and other species in topic, it all will come there. So there's always a repetition of that. என்ன கேக்குறாங்க, they take a species, they're talking about which schedule they come. They take a species from where they are found. They take a species, what is it, nocturnal or diurnal? See, they always take one and from there they diverge. So the next question, so because it's already been given the data for that, I'm moving to the next. Why is a plant called Prosopis julifera, also called as Mexican thornbush, a very well-known invasive plant species in India? It is an invasive species, right? So invasive species means they have a direct impact on the biodiversity of the region. Invasive species always impacts the native species. It negatively affects the native species in terms of competition, in terms of resource competition, in terms of space competition, and also prey predation relationship. இவங்க ஒன்று சாப்பிட்றவங்களா இருப்பாங்க, இல்லை அவங்க சாப்பிட்றவங்க இவங்க சாப்பிட்ருவாங்க. So in either way, they in fact affect the native species. So invasive alien species nale you have to know that it affects biodiversity. In fact, invasive alien species is considered to be the second most important threat to biodiversity loss. So biodiversity loss ஆகிறதுக்கு நிறைய காரணம் இருக்கு. The first and the foremost important reason is habitat loss. The first major reason is habitat loss. 85% of biodiversity loss is because they lost their homes. The second most important reason is invasive alien species. Okay. Okay, so invasive alien species. So Prosopis julifera. Is there any other invasive alien species that has been in the news or that has been a cause of concern in the recent times? These are the species. Water hyacinth. Water hyacinth. So water hyacinth, it is an aquatic weed. Remember, the word weed is something reference to a plant species that grows faster without any care. நாம வளர்க்கிறது crop, தானா வளர்றது weed. So if any crop, if any plant that grows faster without a human care, we use the term weed. That is also another reference. Weed also can be reference to invasive alien species, which accidentally also can be called as IAS. So aquatic weed. So இதில் என்ன பார்க்கலாம் அப்படின்னா அதோட நேட்டிவ் என்னன்னு தெரியணும். So this water hyacinth, it's native to South America. And what kind of an ecosystem it affects? Name இதுக்குனால சொல்லிடலாம், water bodies. And how it affects? It forms dense mat. It grows very dense on the top of the water body. It will obstruct the water flow, disrupt aquatic ecosystems. It impedes navigation. It also blocks sunlight. It blocks sunlight. It increases TSS, I told you already, total suspended solids. It also affects oxygen penetration. It causes many impacts. So water hyacinth. The next one, very important, is lantana. Lantana is a very short growing, they don't grow taller, very short growing shrub. But it's an invasive shrub. It is native to Central and South America. I know that remembering the origin is very difficult. இதில் ஒரே ஒரு க்ளூ என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, ஒருவேளை கொஷின் இது வரைக்கும் அப்படி டைரக்டா வரல, பட் ஒருவேளை வந்ததுன்னா ஒன் குட் ஐ வில் சே இஸ் most often not always, let me tell you, it's a shortcut. Shortcut எப்பவுமே நான் சொல்லுவேன், shortcut should be used only occasionally. If you use it every time, it becomes a highway. Shortcut highway-வா மாத்தலாமா கூட. Shortcut you have to use it occasionally, sparingly. என்ன ஒன்று சொல்லுவேன்னா, mostly South America. Most of these invasive species which are of concern to India emerges from South America. Maybe Mexico or Central America, somewhere there. So ஒருவேளை உங்களுக்கு கெஸ் பண்ணலனா, you can assume that if it comes Central America, you can assume 80% it will be correct. So this is also native to Central and South America. What is a thing that it has? Lantana ஓட ஒரு முக்கியமான ரெண்டு இம்பாக்ட் இருக்கு. The first impact என்ன அப்படின்னா, with respect to Indian forests, it can cause forest fires. Lantana can easily catch fire. It is associated with making a small spark, okay, into a big fire. நம்ம ஆளுங்க அப்படியே டூரிசம் போகும்போது அப்படியே சிகரெட்டை பிடிச்சி அப்படியே போடுவாங்க. In other times, it would have gone off. But if lantana, which grows everywhere, it can easily catch fire because it has a high oil content. One. The second என்ன அப்படின்னா, it not only in the forest, it also can invade agricultural lands. But once it invades agricultural land, the problem that it creates is it has a strong allelopathic effect. It has a strong allelopathic effect. What does this allelopathic means? Allelopathic effect means this refers to a phenomenon where one species secretes cytochemicals, cytona cell, cellular chemicals, which secretes cytochemicals that inhibit the growth of other species to reduce competition. ஒரு ஸ்பீஷிஸ் இன்னொரு ஸ்பீஷிஸ் வராம இருக்கிறதுக்கு செக்ரீட் பண்ணக்கூடிய அந்த கெமிக்கல்ஸ் தான் ஃபைட். we call it as allelopathy. So allelopathy யார் அதிக, every species has allelopathy. Even you have allelopathy because the chair you sit, if somebody is coming and sitting closer to you, you won't feel comfortable. Either you move away. We all have that own space, safe space. அந்த மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு பிளான்ட்டுக்கும் சேஃப் ஸ்பேஸ் இருக்கு. They ensure that they secrete these chemicals to ensure that others don't invade. But lantana problem enna, they have a strong allelopathy. So if lantana grows in the field, the crop you want to grow won't grow easily. The agriculture crops you intend to grow, they don't grow easily. So that's a major problem of lantana. The next one is Parthenium. It is also called as Congress grass or carrot weed. In the alternative names also important because it can even come in pairs. On the one hand, they will give you the species, on the other hand, alternative names. Parthenium is also called as carrot weed. Once again, see Central America. And what is the main problem? One of the major concerns with the carrot weed is it can be allergic to humans and livestock. That is the major concern with the Parthenium. It can cause allergic reactions both in humans as well as in livestock. The fourth one is African apple snail. Once again, as I said earlier, shortcut na shortcut. Inga paranga miss aichu paranga. It's native to Africa, but name says African. So at least nam adu theriyum. Nettu kaal poochi kettana kaal 7 kaal solla kooda. So African apple snail, native to Africa. And what is the main problem? This is one of the largest snail found in the nature. In fact, you have two hands, you put your hands, two hands together, it will be even larger than the two hands. It's one of the gigantic snail and a gregarious feeder. Gregarious feeder. யாரை சாப்பிடுவாங்க? They eat the crops. Wherever they go, they eat them. So it's a very gregarious feeder, which in turn can cause damage to crops and gardens. Another problem with this apple snail, African apple snail, is it also is known to carry some deadly plant and animal diseases. So இவங்க வர இடத்துல நோய் வரும்ன்றாங்க. Because it also can carry the disease agents in their body. So that's a problem with this African apple snail. The next one is African catfish, or also generally called as catfish. So catfish oda uniqueness in அப்படின்னா like when we say about the story of Prosophis julifera in India, it was actually considered to be a panacea in the 1960s for easy availability of firewood, because it grows easily, it grows very faster, nothing is needed, nobody needs to care for it, you can cut it and burn it for fire. But later it turns into invasive. அதே மாதிரி ஒரு aquaculture-க்கு ஒரு மீனை கொண்டு வந்திருக்காங்க, something like what we have brought for trees. We brought this African catfish because of its unique properties. Because one, it can grow very fast. It has a very high growth rate. It can grow very quickly. One. Second, it is not very demanding, which means they can grow in a high density, even in a low quality water. தண்ணி சுத்தமா இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை. Even if it is poorly maintained, it can grow to a high density. ஒரு தண்ணியில ஒரு 50 மீனா இருக்க முடியும்னா this catfish can even 75-100 they can grow. So small size, big yield. And the third, another point is this catfish, what's the problem? So, okay sir, so far so good, it has high growth rate. And third one, it can be consumed. It is consumable by humans. But this is something, an ideal species for growing, for aquaculture. Farmers, the one who grow fishes, can make more money. But what is the problem? If there is a sudden flooding in this kind of aquaculture ponds, it will overspill, and this water that drains, if it reaches any near water bodies and the catfish reaches there the problem comes. What's the problem? One behavior of this catfish. The catfish can predate upon other fishes. அவங்க சாப்பிட்றதுல முக்கியமான இன்னொன்று என்னன்னா, the catfish can predate upon other fishes. So இவங்க போற இடத்துல the other species, the fish species and aquatic species cannot exist at all. So that's the reason it is considered to be invasive in nature. So mainly it was introduced for what purpose? For aquaculture purposes. But what is the main problem with it? It is a threat to native fish species. Okay. The next one, common carp. Common carp, it's another invasive fish. Why? It is also something similar, but it is not introduced like catfish. The main problem is common carp also eats other fishes. So in this way, it is very similar to catfish. The next is Chromalina odorata, also called as Chromalina. The alternative name of Chromalina is Siam weed. Once again, the trend continues. It is native to Americas. And where it actually affects? It affects mostly the forests and plantation. So it affects forest as well as cultivated lands. The next one, Leucaena. Leucaena. The Leucaena is also called as lead tree. The other name of Leucaena is lead tree. Remember, these are not random species. The species which are in the news. That's the reason they have been chosen. So Leucaena. So it is introduced. So now remember, you need to know what comes accidentally as an invasive species because of international trade or international traffic. But there are some which we have introduced intentionally also. So introduced invasive species யாரு or accidental invasive species யாரை நீங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். இல்ல நம்ம முன்னாடி பார்த்த Prosophis were introduced, the catfish introduced, Leucaena is also introduced, called as lead tree. Why? Because it can grow faster, and that's the reason it was one of the tree chosen for afforestation projects. And also, it can be used as a fodder, food for livelihoods. But later, it is actually considered to be or found to be an invasive species, Leucaena. The last is Milcania micrantha. Leucaena micrantha. It is called as mile a minute weed. Mile a minute. அதுக்கு என்ன அர்த்தம்னா in 1 minute you can travel to mile. It means it grows very, very fast. That's why it is called as mile a minute. So Milcania micrantha is called as mile a minute weed. It's a fast growing vine. It's a fast growing vine that is known to have invaded once again. That's considered to be a threat to the native vegetation. So இதுல நீங்க ரொம்ப டீடைல பார்க்காதீங்க. Is it an aquatic or land based? Is it a plant or an animal? Where it belongs to? What is its other name? What it affects? In the basic information, extra information is given just for the narration purpose. It doesn't serve much use neither. Okay. The next one. So this is actually in 2019 where the UPSC actually started breaking the bones. This is when the so-called the conventional way of answering questions, like if only comes it will be wrong, if all comes it will be wrong. இது இந்த 2019 இருந்து தான் break ஆச்சு. Asiatic lions are naturally found in India only. Yes, just because the word only comes, you cannot assume that it's a wrong statement. In fact, it indeed is a correct statement. So this is an eye opener that questionல ஒரு வேர்டை வச்சு மற்ற எதுவுமே தெரியாத போது, let's say that you have no idea about the rest of the statement. Just by looking at the word only, you cannot say that it's a wrong statement. I've seen many students still doing it, but see, what I can say is maybe it will be correct, but it's a very risky venture that you are going to take. You read the statement completely, try to analyze logically whether it can be or cannot be, and then you use the word only. So only should be used as a last resort, not as a first weapon. Okay, you have to use only as a last resort. So in the statement la neenga konjam be very careful for this. In fact, the answer enna theriyuma? A double-humped camel is naturally found in India only கிடையாது. One-horned rhinoceros is naturally found in India only கிடையாது, because it is also found in Nepal. Terai grasslands. It's known to be found in Terai grasslands. One only the answer. Okay. The next one. Recently, there was a growing awareness in our country about the importance of Himalayan nettle, because it is found to be a sustainable source of, answer actually was textile fiber. So Himalayan nettle. Why? Because it is considered to be a source of textile fiber. Now it is here that I like to tell you Himalayan nettle pati, if I want to say few points here. It is actually a species that belongs to the Nepal and the Himalayan region. Nepal and the Himalayan region of India. Himalayan region of India, which includes Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Jammu and Kashmir. What is the uniqueness about this Himalayan nettle? Why it is so much in the news? That's why it was asked in the question, was that it is actually, it produces a fine, means very smooth, fine, strong, but a lightweight fiber. Strong, fine, but a lightweight fiber. And another uniqueness about this Himalayan nettle is it is generally doesn't grow. This Himalayan nettle plant doesn't grow in the plains. It can usually grow only in the altitude of about 1,200 to 3,000 meters. So சில இடத்துல மட்டும் தான் அது grow பண்ண முடியும். So it is commercially relevant only to those regions. So இதை நாம பார்க்கும் பொழுது we have to see, is there any other topic relevant to that? I searched in the PIB, they have identified that R&D natural fibers. So the idea of natural fibers, what are natural fibers? Like a flax, hemp, jute, cotton, nettle. இது இல்லாம இருக்கக்கூடிய others, they say banana is also source of natural fibers. So banana, Himalayan nettle, bamboo, the next one, bamboo is also source of natural fibers. It has been supported under a scheme called as Scheme for R&D for the textile industry, including jute, under the Ministry of Textiles. So in the scheme la idu ellam irukku. This was actually the reason why this question was asked. But Anna, see, if we want to do this analysis and trying to see each and every sub schemes and other categories, and it become very impossible. So what I did is I'll try to see, is there any other species relevant to this? Okay, enna relevance paathirukka appadina, species of some importance. It may be commercial importance or it might be for ecotourism. So species of any importance in the recent times appadinu paathona, we can have 3. The first one is peony flower. So this peony flower enna appadina, this is one of the favorite plant that is chosen to be grown in gardens. It's usually a favorite crop because if the bloom it produces, this is what the peony flower is. The bloom it produces is so attractive that it is considered to be a choice in gardens. And so what is its primary importance? Ornamental value. But why it is in the importance is because that favorable climate and soil conditions, okay, in the Himalayan region, and the efforts of the government for the adoption of this crop have recently seen a sudden surge of growth of the peony flowers in the Himalayan region, particularly Uttarakhand. So in Uttarakhand, many farmers are growing these peony flowers in the recent times that gives them a good yield after the harvest. So this is now becoming one of the crop, a floriculture crop in the recent times. So it was in the news. And remember, it's a temperate region. That's why it grows only in the Himalayan regions. The next, you might have heard about this one, Neelakurinji. So Neelakurinji scientific name, Strobilanthus kundiana. See at what altitude it grows. The Neelakurinji can grow only between 1,300 to 2,400 meters. And they are, okay, I'll say about this later. So here, Neela, obviously the word Neela means blue. Because of the bloom that it produces in blue in color, it is called as Neelakurinji. And initially, okay, the light blue color of the flowers changes to purple bluish. Initially, it will be blue. But once the flower matures, it will change to purplish blue. And what is the uniqueness about this? It's endemic to Western Ghats. This Neelakurinji cannot be found anywhere else in the world. It is found only in the Western Ghats from Mangaldevi Hills to the Nilgiri Hills. In this small stretch from the Mangaldevi Hills to Nilgiri Hills is where this flower is found. And it's a Schedule 3 species. I'm sorry, now it's Schedule 2, sorry. It's a Schedule 2 species as of now. And what is a very selling point of a Neelakurinji? Because it blooms only once in every 12 years. Then the next is genetically modified GM rubber plant. So genetically modified GM rubber plant, what is the modification that they do? Let me say a few points here with regard to rubber generally. So when we say natural rubber, okay, natural rubber is preferentially grown in warm, humid Amazon forests. It is generally not suitable for growth in the colder regions such as northeastern India. It usually grows favorably in the warmer regions. Now, how to bring the benefit of this rubber plantation for the commercial upsurge in the northeastern India? Rubber Research Institute of India, Kerala. Rubber Research Institute from Kerala have developed a genetically modified rubber plant. So idea enna appadina, the simple idea what I said earlier. Rubber ideally grows in warm conditions. They want to make the rubber to grow in cold conditions like northeast India also. What they done for that? They did a genetic engineering. How? They introduced additional copies of a gene called as manganese containing superoxide dismutase, MNSOD. அதாவது manganese superoxide dismutase. They have introduced additional copies, means many copies, multiple copies, not a single copy. They have given multiple copies of manganese superoxide dismutase, which helps the plant to adapt to the winter conditions. It helps the plant to adapt to the winter condition, which makes it more ideal. Okay. The next, in relevance to that also, when I was going through this research in this particular topic, I come across that the fibers that has been talked so far, no, they have also come under the domain of what is called as National Technical Textile Mission. It is under the National Technical Textile Mission that what we have discussed so far comes under, and therefore I want you guys to be exposed to this topic also. So this mission was approved in 2020, National Technical Textiles Mission. And what does this technical textile means? So technical textiles are functional fabrics. See, the fabrics we wear is not functional. They are aesthetic fabrics. We wear for aesthetic purposes. But there are fabrics which are functional in nature. For example, seeds. இப்போ சீட்ஸே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா we are saying what is called as breathing fabrics. என்னன்னா that helps you not to feel warmth. Okay, it's அப்புறம் seat belt, okay, and the foaming. So they are called as functional fabrics. So functional fabrics na என்னன்னா fabrics that has a particular utility based on its composition or design. So this is called as functional fabrics. Functional fabrics. So it is commonly used in various fields like automobiles, civil engineering. For example, mobile tech refers to products used in vehicles such as seat belts and airbags. And the geotech, it refers to which is helped in soil management. So geotech refers to textiles or textile-based fabrics which are used in soil management. So mobile tech, geotech. So this National Technical Textiles Mission, the aim of this is to three aim. One, to make our country as a global leader in the technical textiles. Second, increase the use of technical textiles in the domestic market. And second, taking the domestic market from 40 billion to 50 billion by 2024, this year. So these are the aim. Right. When I did further search, I come across two other unique textile materials. When I was doing research on this National Technical Textile Mission, I come across two unique textile materials which has been in the news in the recent times. The first one is iridescent nanocellulose. iridescent nanocellulose. So this iridescent nanocellulose, like how a peacock's feather changes color depending upon the direction that you see. So this iridescent nanocellulose fiber can change the color depending upon the angle from which it is seen. The next fabric that I come across is polyethylene fabric. It's called as polyethylene fabric. The uniqueness about this polyethylene fabric is it is considered to have a cooling effect. Why? Because it is designed and created in such a way that it is transparent to infrared radiation. It is transparent. So when we say infrared radiation is nothing but heat. So heat can enter, it can go out. So you feel more cooler. So polyethylene fabrics, it has a cooling effect because it is transparent to infrared radiation. So I've been talking for 2 hours nearly. Tonda valikkudu. Can we take a break? So maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes. You also take a recess, 30-40 minutes. We'll come back for the next round of session. Right. Thank you, guys. Right. So let's start. National Technical Mission, right? So the next question, I think those who come to the test batch, I would have told you the usual trick that will work with this kind of questions. இப்போ கூட பாத்தீங்களா கொஸ்டினோட நேச்சரை பாருங்க. Dietary preference once again. So எல்லாமே சுத்தி சுத்தி ஒரே குட்டையை தான் கலக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம். We are troubling the same water. So we get used to that water. Some species of snakes are viviparous. எப்பவுமே சம்ன்றதுல ஏதாவது ஒருத்தங்களாவது வந்துருவாங்க. Even one comes, some will be applicable. And therefore that's why you say, I will say for these questions with almost like near 90-95% accuracy that it will be correct. Okay, particularly in environment and science and technology. So எப்பவுமே இந்த மாதிரி வந்தா 1 2 3 and 4 in case you cannot guess, in case if it's something that unknown, you can use a strategy. Okay. Okay. The next is, which of the following are the most likely places to find the musk deer in its natural habitat? To 2020 question. You see that it all seems now you can see that it's the repetition of the way the question is asked. Maybe here it changes, but where it is found, most likely to find natural habitat, this is how the question usually comes. So I have something here for you guys. Maybe you are in for a treat also. Not the treat that you guys usually known of. This is a knowledge treat. Okay. Once again, see, which one of the following protected areas is well known for the conservation of a subspecies of Indian swamp deer? In fact, they want to be sure you guys Indian swamp deer வேற எதுவும் நினைக்க கூடாதுன்னு அவங்களே கிளியர் பண்ணிடுறாங்க. பாராசிங்கா. UPSC wants to be clear. Don't think anything. Where it is found அப்படின்னு answer Kanha. Yes. So இதே தான் ஏரியா. So species question வந்து ரொம்ப டிஃபிகல்ட்டா இருக்கும் நினைக்கிறீங்க, but no. Provided what species that you need to focus and the 5 basic areas that I told you to prepare, then almost you can guess answers. So enna pannalam? Once again, with reference to India's biodiversity, Ceylon frogmouth, coppersmith barbet, grey-chinned minivet, white-throated redstart, I have to accept my defeat here, because I thought these were, of course, what they are. They are saying they are reference to birds. But I thought that they were asking schedule 1 species or schedule 2, but I couldn't find that anywhere in the schedules. So I have no clue, no idea why they have asked this question. I don't know what prompted them to do this, but so I'm leaving this more like bouncer questions. So I don't know. Theriyala. With reference to Indian elephants, the leader of an elephant group, idu pathina, I've seen many students without having an idea of what to get from previous year question paper, they're trying to read facts and concepts and ideas relevant to this. But let me tell you, it's very rare that it's going to come again. Don't ever think about it. Never. So maybe நீங்க என்ன பார்க்கணும்னா எந்த பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல கொஸ்டின் கேட்கறாங்க, அந்த பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல ரீசன்ட் கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா you have to prepare accordingly. That's what you can do best. That's what I'm trying to do also. So I hope you know the answer for this question actually was 1 and 2 actually, because among the states in India, the highest, see, in fact, it's ரொம்ப difficult இருக்கும் நினைக்கிறீங்க, but if you are sure about this one, Karnataka, not Kerala, right? You would have already known the answer. Answer is 1 and 2 1. Easily you would have known it, because leader of an elephant group is usually female, because it's a matrilineal society, right? Now what I had done here, of course, I wanted to give you some information about project elephant, because elephant பத்தி கேட்டிருக்காங்க, project tiger கேட்டிருக்காங்க, project elephant இன்னும் கேட்கல. The difference here between the both is very stark. It's a stark difference between the both. Why? It's because project tiger and tiger reserves are legally protected under WPA 1972, but project elephant is not. So project elephant or elephant reserves or elephant corridors, they don't have any legal protections at all. So how they protected? Because they live in the forest, and the forest comes under the protection of Indian Forest Act 1927, and they are schedule 1 species under WPA 1972. Schedule 1 species க்கு ஒரு protection clauses இருக்கு தெரியுமா, அதுல தான் protect ஆகுறாங்க. Elephant reserves, project elephant or elephant corridors, and for the fact tiger corridors. Any kind of a corridor in India is not legally protected at all. But so let's say so I thought let's have some information relevant to this. Why? Because recently there was something called as Gaj Utsav, a celebration called as Gaj Utsav, which Our president has participated. 2023 it happened. Why? To mark 30 years of Project Elephant. So to mark the 30 years of Project Elephant, Gaj Utsav was conducted where? In Assam. It was held in Assam, in Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. Okay, so that's the relevant current affairs that I find to the elephant. Okay, the second is, in terms of elephant population, the largest elephant population in the world is in India, about 27,000 Asian elephants. Okay, the next is, with respect to elephant census, which has the highest number? இதுதான் question கேட்டுட்டாங்க. Okay, remember 2017, this was 2020 question. So sometimes there is a huge gap between the current affairs and the question they ask. அதனால தான் என்னன்னா, now, but practically it is not possible. You need to have some kind of a hold on the last few years of development in the particular subject, okay, which is not possible. That's why you need to have some kind of a material which has that retrospective aspect, retrospective data to that. Not only what happened in the recent times, but also what happened in the past, very recent past. That also should be a part of your current affairs, because current affairs slowly transgressed into past affairs also. Not current affairs truly. So இந்த மாதிரி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. 2017 வந்த சென்சஸ்க்கு 2020 கொஸ்டின் வந்திருக்கு. But anyhow, for the fact, we need to know Karnataka, the next is Assam, and the third only is Kerala. Numbers are not important. Then there is also one recent report called as Critical Evaluation of Elephant Corridor Report 2023. Okay, so according to this, which state has the highest number of elephant corridors? West Bengal. I hope you know what the concept of corridor means. You have one habitat of, let's say, elephant. There is another habitat. An elephant is a migratory species, and the route they take, the route which connects one habitat to another, which the animal usually takes always the same route. The same route that they take every time they move from one place to another is called as corridor. If it is taken by elephant, it's elephant corridor. If it is taken by tiger, it's tiger corridor. So this corridor, West Bengal has the highest number of elephant corridors. Okay, and in terms of zones, okay, eastern zone has the highest number of corridors. This is in terms of state. In terms of zone, eastern zone has the highest number of elephant corridors in India. This is according to this report, Critical Evaluation of Elephant Corridor Report 2023. Now here, you also would have known, elephant is considered to be, not considered, it's a fact, not considered. Elephant is the heritage animal of India. Elephant is recognized as the heritage animal of India, and also there is one unique program associated with this Project Elephant as well. What is that? It's called as MIKE program. For example, with respect to tiger conservation, you have a program called as M Stripes, right? It was even a previous year question. Similar to Project Tiger, you have a M Stripe. You have a program called as MIKE for Project Elephant. So what this MIKE stands for? Monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. The MIKE stands for monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. Now, this MIKE program, started from 2003, is actually established for the enforcement of CITES. The CITES Convention for the International Convention on the International Trade of Endangered Species, right? CITES Convention. Now, this MIKE, how it is designed, okay? It is actually designed as a site-based program. See, its site-based program is very simple idea. For example, if this is one elephant range, let's say this is another elephant range, based on the nature of that particular elephant reserve, that they will devise the particular way how the program is implemented, not like top-down approach. It's a bottom-up approach. So it's called a site-based model, is used for the implementation of the MIKE program. So what it does, it helps in monitoring the illegal killing of elephants, where actually this MIKE program is actually implemented in 2 continents, because this is run under sites, so this actually implemented in 2 continents. It's applicable for African and Asian elephants. This MIKE program is run for African as well as in Asian elephants. இது ஆக்சுவலா இப்போ எவ்வளவு இருக்குன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்தியால in 13 tiger range states it is implemented. So இதுல ரெண்டு விஷயம் இருக்கு. 13 tiger range, 13 elephant range states. I'm sorry for that. Please, my slip of the tongue. 13 elephant range states. So in India, in 13 states, elephants are found. So not all states of India has elephants. Only 13. Okay. And here also there are other more important thing. Tamil Nadu and Assam together, they have the highest number of elephant reserves in India. So which state in India has the highest number of elephant reserves? Even though they have no legal protection, there is something called as elephant reserves. Tamil Nadu and Assam has the highest number, right? And as I said earlier, elephant, I told you it's a migratory species, right? So it is also included in Appendix 1 of CMS. CMS is a convention, it's called as Convention on Migratory Species, also usually called as Bonn Convention, right? Now the next one, this question: in nature, which of the following are most likely to be found surviving on a surface without soil? So this question should be seen from other perspective also. Say they are actually, they are saying what can grow without a soil. So you can also see from what is called as soilless agriculture. Which includes, even though there was a question on that, it's a pointer to this concept called as soilless agriculture, which includes hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics. Hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics. So here answer actually lichen and moss only. Only lichen and moss is known to grow in a soilless state. Okay. Okay, see, this is where we need to be very clear. What is this fern stands for? Okay, because you asked, let me say that. Okay, what's the question? Okay. What are ferns? Ferns actually belong to a group of plants called as pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are very primitive plants which cannot grow to very tall heights. They don't grow to very huge heights. And they usually found in the understory of a forest. Understory என்னன்னா ரொம்ப காலுக்கு கீழே வளரவங்கள understory species ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. And they are also found in a damp, shady places. They need soil to grow. அப்போ ஒண்ணு வரக்கூடாது. Ferns is actually a primitive plant which needs soil to grow. One should not come. What about mushroom? Mushroom can grow on decaying plant matter. Yes, very true. So answer has to be 2, 3, and 4, but there is no option, right? But when you say lichen, lichen doesn't primarily grow on soil. You can always find it in rocks or trees. The same is true for moss as well. And that's why, even though, but mushroom, it can grow on soil as well as soilless. So when we combine these two data together, the most probable answer, it's not the correct answer. According to the options given, 2 and 3 should be chosen, because there is no 2, 3, and 4, right? There's only 1, 3, and 4. 1 varakudadu. So this is wrong. The answer has to be C. Okay. இல்லம்மா கேட்கலம்மா, sorry. Electronic soil. What is it about? I'm sorry. Electric impulse. Okay, is it like hydroponics மாதிரியா? Okay. Okay. Electronic soil. ஓகே, நான் பார்க்குறேன் நான். ஓகே, மேபி இந்த டெஸ்ட்ல கேட்டலாம். ஒருவேளை 2, 3, 4 இருந்தா யூ கேன் இன்க்ளூட், ரைட்? எஸ். ஓகே, ஸோ the next one. This is about the organism that rolls up and protect its the vulnerable parts. Okay, so இது ஒரு defense mechanism. They're asking about defense mechanism of animals. One. Second, this particular species called as pangolin. So there are 8 pangolin species found in the world, out of which 4 are found in India. But pangolin species oda mukkiyamaana oru problem enna, it has been identified by CITES, because CITES is what involved in illegal poaching, the illegal trade of animal parts, so avangala padi pathina the most trafficked mammal in the world, we kill them and we traffic them in large numbers, is considered to be pangolin. That has been in the news in the very recent times. So 2021 la we were all thinking about CITES or pangolin, but they asked in a very different way. The inspiration is what's happening in the recent times, but the way they targeted or made the question is entirely different. They are asking about the defense mechanism: hedgehog, marmot, or pangolin. Marmot is actually a rat. Hedgehog enna mullamandri, mullamandri solrom illaya, that's actually what hedgehog is. They also roll up. So they are asking two things: most trafficked mammal or more defense mechanism of animal. There are two things that we can find from this question. So because of that, I try to brought down some important defense mechanism of animals. So what are the important defense mechanism of animals? In addition to that rolling up, what is called as porcupine quills. Porcupine quills, right? So you would have known about it, no need to spend time there. The second is skunk spray. So skunk spray pathina, it's a very foul smelling, 3 வேளை குளிச்சாலும் போவாது, and it is because it is secreted from the anal glands. They spray that skunk into that kind of the predator, so very very difficult situation which will linger for a long time. Skunk spray. The third one is hagfish slime. So skunk fish spray yaar pandranga, maybe you would have thought, sir, idu yaar pandranga na skunk which sprays skunk spray. So hagfish slime. So hagfish slime enna appadina, it's a marine organism which secretes a large amount of slime. Okay, so by that way it makes the animal which engulfs it, it cannot engulf it because slime secreted so quick and so much that it cannot engulf or swallow it. The only way to take vomit. The next is bombardier beetle spray, a very unique beetle, bombardier beetle spray. Iungalde defense mechanism enna appadina, they spray a very hot noxious chemical mixture from its abdomen. இதோட யூனிக்னஸ் என்ன அப்படின்னா, it can reach up to 100 degrees Celsius. தொட்டா கெட்டா. So okay, so bombardier beetle spray, very very effective. The next is something that you all would have known, but you may not know the name of that. Autonomy, also called as self amputation. This is also defense mechanism adopted by animals, such as for example lizards and some insects. Okay, so what they can do, they can voluntarily shed off the parts of their body. This is even applicable for starfish. Even starfish is known to have this ability. They can voluntarily give off the part of the body and they can move ahead very well. So no, lizard, Example, lizard can lose a tail, fine with it. So autonomy, நம்ம பக்கத்துல தான் போயிருப்போம், வால் தனியா ஆடிட்டு இருக்கோம், நான் எதுவுமே பண்ணலையேடா, it will create a lot of depression in us. நான் எதை மெதிச்சிட்டேனா, I squeeze anything or something, but this guy is doing on its own. So autonomy or self amputation, some very general, very important defense mechanism of animals. Okay. Okay, the next question, sorry. Certain species of which of the following organisms are well known as cultivators of fungi? The first farmers of the living world. Ant. You would have known this, ant. So here what they are talking about, they're talking once again about the earlier topic we discussed earlier, mutualism, interspecies relationship. So it's a question on that. I'm moving next. So இதெல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னா, see, as I said earlier, these are the questions that if you're not sure, don't guess. You have to leave this. It looks very simple, but it is in the simplicity lies the devil. Okay. So here நீங்க cultivator of fungi பார்த்திருப்பீங்க, இல்ல கெஸ்ஸே பண்ண முடியாது. உங்களுக்கு இது தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா தெரியும், இல்லனா இல்ல. Because there is no other way that you can think of anything. Because who would have known that ant is something who cultivates fungi? Nobody would have guessed it unless you know it. So இந்த மாதிரி கொஸ்டின்ஸ், இதுதான் நான் சொல்றேன், இந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ் பார்க்கறதுக்கு சிம்பிளா இருக்கும், பட் கெஸ்ட் இந்த மாதிரியான கொஸ்டின்ஸை கெஸ் பண்ணாதீங்க. Or some people are naturally, they can guess naturally or inherently involved with the sixth sense, seventh sense. It goes like eighth, ninth, 10th sense. அப்படி பண்ற மாதிரி இருந்து உங்களுக்கு கரெக்ட் ஆச்சுன்னா you do that, but I will not suggest this. இந்த மாதிரியான கொஸ்டினுக்கு கெஸ் பண்றதுக்கு நான் பொதுவா சஜஸ்ட் பண்ண மாட்டேன். The best way is to leave it. The next one, nitrogen fixing plants. Okay, they asked about nitrogen fixing plants. Here what can we get from this? So here, because they asked about nitrogen fixing plants, it becomes a reference to very closely related topics such as biofertilizers, biopesticides and biofuel. என்ன கேக்குறாங்க, nitrogen fixing plants na biofertilizers. They are asking the sources. So similarly we need to identify these also, biofertilizers, biopesticides and biofuel. Okay, let's see some about this. Okay, so biofertilizers. So biofertilizers, it can be broadly divided into three types, actually three types. Let me talk about it first. One, nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. Second, phosphate mobilizing. இந்த இடத்துல fixing சொல்லக்கூடாது, தப்பு. நைட்ரஜன் தான் ஃபிக்ஸ் ஆகும், பாஸ்பேட் மொபிலைஸ் ஆகும். Nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, phosphate mobilizing or slash. Sometimes they will use another word, solubilizing. Phosphate solubilizing or mobilizing, both are correct. Biofertilizers. Third one, growth promoting substances. These are generally the three categories of biofertilizers. Okay. Now, when we say nitrogen fixing, this nitrogen fixing itself is two types, symbiotic, non-symbiotic. This non-symbiotic is also called as free living. Symbiotic and non-symbiotic. Non-symbiotic is also called as free living. And one point I want to add before I move on, when we say symbiotic, there's one thing that we all know, rhizobium and leguminous plants. But not only that, even cereals are known to have symbiotic cereals. Okay, cereals are known to be responsible for symbiotic nitrogen fixation. Okay. Okay, then phosphate solubilizers, the next one. Phosphate solubilizers or phosphate mobilizers. I said two things. So what happens here basically is, Phosphate is considered to be a sedimentary cycle. And the sedimentary cycle always has its reservoir held strongly in rocks and soil particles, very tightly bound, not available for the plants to absorb. அப்போ அவங்களை எப்படி அப்சர்வ் பண்ண முடியும்னா, some organism has to secrete some kind of acidic substances. The acid will leach the phosphate from the rock and soil, then it will be released. இதை செய்கிறவங்கள தான் பாஸ்பேட் சொல்யூபிளைசர்னு சொல்கிறோம். இப்போ என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு, பாஸ்பேட் வெளியே வந்துடுச்சு, பட் ஸ்டில் இட் இஸ் நாட் ஈஸிலி அவைலபிள் ஃபார் த ரூட்ஸ். அப்போ என்ன பண்ணணும்னா, அதை இன்னொருத்தங்க அப்சர்வ் பண்ணி ரூட்டுக்கு சேனலைஸ் பண்ணணும். சிம்பிளி லைக் ஸ்பூன் ஃபீடிங். பாஸ்பேட்டை எடுத்து சாயிலேருந்து எடுத்து இந்த பிளான்ட்டை வச்சுக்கொண்டு பண்ணுறது. இதை பண்ணுறவங்க பாஸ்பேட் மொபிலைசர்ஸ். ஸோ பாஸ்பேட் சொல்யூபிளைசர்ஸ், வை? பிகாஸ் பாஸ்பேட் இஸ் இன்சால்யூபிள் இன் ராக். அதை சொல்யூபிளைஸ் பண்ணுறவங்க சொல்யூபிளைசர்ஸ். And then who moves them into the plant are mobilizers. The most important, which I said earlier, mycorrhiza. 96%, 95% of trees have mycorrhiza within their roots. They are mobilizers. Mobilizers. Then what about solubilizers? Bacteria. A good example of that is Pseudomonas. Are considered to be solubilizers. Okay. Now, one last point I would like to add. Biofertilizers has to be a live microorganism. Never make a mistake in that. ஏன் அப்படின்னா, செத்து போனதை தந்தீங்கன்னா it used to be called as manure or compost. Only when that what you give is alive, it will be called as biofertilizers. So biofertilizers are always live microorganisms. They cannot ever be dead. Then government in the recent times, in PIB when I go through, I got this one information which I would like to share with you guys. Under Fertilizer Control Order 1985, Fertilizer Control Order FCO, Fertilizer Control Order 1985, 11 biofertilizers are identified. So this is like, giving a state recognition to biofertilizers. And the 11 la முக்கியமானது என்னன்னா அதை நான் சொல்றேன், நோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க. Rhizobium. So these are the 11 biofertilizers identified in Fertilizer Control Order 1985. I wanted to repeat it. Rhizobium, the first one. The second, Azotobacter. Third, Azospirillum. Fourth, PSB, phosphate solubilizing bacteria, PSB. The next one, mycorrhiza. The next one, potassium mobilizing biofertilizers. So here, நம்ம கன்வென்ஷனலா நம்ம பயோஃபெர்டிலைசர்னு ஒன்று படிக்கிறோம் தெரியுமா, அதுல இல்லாத ஒன்று 11, because when you see biofertilizer, what I have said earlier is what you find anywhere. But in the biofertilizer recognized in FCO, they have included which is not given in the standard definition. So that becomes unique. Potassium mobilizing biofertilizer, something very unique. The next one, இது இல்லாம இன்னும் யூனிக் வருது பாருங்க, zinc mobilizing biofertilizers. So biofertilizerனா நீங்க நினைக்காதீங்க nitrogen and phosphorus மட்டும் கிடையாது. It includes potassium. That's what I wanted to convey to you guys. Potassium, zinc mobilizing biofertilizers. The next one, carrier based consortium. Carrier based consortium. Carrier based consortium na enna? Consortium means group of many. When we say rhizobium, you use only rhizobium. But when we say carrier based consortium, you use many kind of microorganisms for the purpose. That's called as carrier based consortium. The next one, liquid consortium. The same thing if used in liquid form, liquid consortium. And the last is phosphate solubilizing fungi. I know it's a huge list, but the purpose of this is to let you know that there are certain unique biofertilizers that our government have recognized. I wanted to say about that. That's the first one. The next one, biopesticides. The next one that we need to be aware of is biopesticides. Let's talk about that. Biopesticides. Similar to the biofertilizers, here the rule is also the same. It has to be alive. Biofertilizer மாதிரி இவங்களும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they have to be live organism. They cannot be dead. Okay. And what can we use for that? Let me say that with example. One, எது எதெல்லாம் biopesticide யூஸ் பண்ணலாம்? Bacteria. You all would have known about the example for bacterial biopesticide. Bacillus thuringiensis. BT cotton சொல்றோம் தெரியுமா? BT cotton, BT maize. அது வந்து BT எதுனா Bacillus thuringiensis. Bacillus thuringiensis. Example. Okay, next one. அப்போ இதுல என்ன தெரியுதுன்னா இப்போ two things. Bacterial biopesticides, when I say, it means that bacteria can be used as a biopesticide. That's what it means. So there are two level of information hidden in that. இதை தான் நான் சொல்றேன் நான் லீனியரா படிக்க ஆரம்பிங்க, லீனியரா படிக்காதீங்க. The second one, fungal biopesticide. It means fungi can also be used as a biopesticide. A good example of a fungal biopesticide என்னன்னா metarhizium, trichoderma, one example. Then metarhizium. Metarhizium, another example. The third one, viral biopesticides. An example for that is nuclear polyhedroviruses. Nuclear polyhedrovirus, called as NPV. Nuclear polyhedro, HEDRO, nuclear polyhedrovirus. And the last one, protozoan biopesticides. Protozoan biopesticides. இதுக்கு எக்ஸாம்பிள் யார் முக்கியமா சொல்லலாம் அப்படின்னா we can use what is called as one important is Nosema. Nosema. So இது பாத்தீங்கன்னா it is very effective against grasshoppers and locusts. This protozoa is very effective in killing grasshoppers and locusts. So இவங்களையும் நம்ம யூஸ் பண்றோம். இப்போ நம்ம 4 பார்த்தோம், பாக்டீரியா, ஃபங்கை, வைரஸ் அண்ட் புரோட்டோசோவா. இந்த 4 தான் என்னன்னா microbial pesticides. Remember, we are discussing different types of biopesticides. The 4 we have discussed so far, right? They are microbial pesticides. இது இல்லாம important other classes of biopesticides are also there. Let's talk about that. The second one is plant incorporated protectants, called as PIP. The next category of biopesticide is PIP, plant incorporated biopesticides. So what this is, sir? For example, BT Bacillus thuringiensis ஓட ஜீனை எடுத்து ஒரு பிளான்ட்டுக்குள்ள வச்சு genetic engineering மூலம் it produces a toxin protein, and that protein will kill if someone eats it. So that particular gene is incorporated into that, right? So plant incorporated protectants are usually GM plants. அதுதான் PIP ன்னு சொல்றாங்க. That's the second category. The third category is biochemical pesticides. Biochemical pesticides. For example, you have many examples of biochemical pesticides. A good example for that is monoterpenes. Monoterpenes. So monoterpenes என்ன பண்றாங்க அப்படின்னா, it is a neurotoxin for insects. It goes, interferes and mess with the central nervous system of the insects, and that makes them to die. So this is an example of biochemical pesticides. The next one, botanical pesticides. So botanical pesticides na enna, for example, from certain plant product you can get a certain substance which will kill insects. For example, lemongrass is considered to be an insect repellent. Lemongrass எடுத்து கை சும்மா அப்படி கசக்கி மேல தடவிட்டா கொசு கடிக்காது, ஈ வராது. So it's called as botanical biopesticides. Example, lemongrass. இதுல இன்னொரு குட் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இதுல ஓகே இதுல something similar to this I want to give some good examples of botanical biopesticides. It includes one, pyrethrum. Pyrethrum. Okay. So this pyrethrum as a botanical pesticide எங்கிருந்து வருது அப்படின்னா it is from chrysanthemum. It is obtained from chrysanthemum flowers. The next one, rotenone. Rotenone. Now this is obtained from roots of leguminous plants. Rotenone, roots of leguminous plants. Third one, nicotine. So இதுல என்னன்னா layer of information is there. Biopesticides. Within the biopesticide, these are the types, and this also includes substances that can be used to repel pests or insects. Okay, so nicotine, you would have known about it, nicotine from tobacco plants, extracted from leaves of tobacco plants. So this is botanical pesticides. And the last category of biopesticide is biotic agents. And in this biotic agents is where the unique class of animal that comes called as parasitoids. Parasitoids. So parasitoids, what parasitoids are? So it is a special class of predators. It's a predator. Parasitoid is a special class of a predator that do not always kill the host. That do not always kill the host immediately. ஒரு predator இருக்காங்க ஒரு prey இருக்காங்கன்னா பொதுவா என்ன நடக்கும்னா predator instantly kills it, but parasitoids is a slow kill. In fact, it is known to create what is called a zombie prey. This kind of parasitoid lay the eggs after injecting a toxin. The toxin என்ன பண்ணும்னா it goes and affects their brain function in such a way that they become like a slaves. They go to the nest of the particular animal and stays there, and it will lay eggs inside the body. The egg will grow, taking the nutrition from the live animal. It is eating from inside and eating from the inside, and the animal comes out rupturing the animal. No, so a very gory thing. But this kind of a thing, in fact, can be used against pests and insects. So that is called as parasitoids. Some examples of parasitoids, of course, I have example. Let me give some examples of parasitoids. One, braconid wasp. Braconid wasp. Okay. Second, trachinid flies. Trachinid flies. The next one, nematodes. Nematodes. The next one, said okay, na sollira, hymenopterans. Hymenopterans. I know this will be too jumbled up words, but just note down. In the வார்த்தை ரெண்டு மூணு தடவை நான் சொல்றேன், நீங்க கேட்டிருப்பீங்க, நீங்க எழுதிருப்பீங்க. Somewhere it will strike your memory. So these are called as examples of parasitoids. But at least one thing that you should not forget, wasp is something a very important example for parasitoids. So we completed biopesticides. Then biofuel is something that you can find reference in any standard reference material. So I'll say please go and refer that. But most important extra point I want to tell you is, you would have known about biofuel. There are 4 generations: first generation, second, third, and fourth. But one unique thing is, 4th generation biofuel is considered to be carbon negative. That's one unique thing I want to tell you, because all the other fuels are considered to be carbon neutral. But the fourth generation is actually considered to be carbon negative. That's something that is very interesting fact. Okay. The next one. Which of the following is not a bird? Marshir, yes. So this marshir is in fact an endangered fish. It's not a bird, it's a fish. So what we need to see, okay, in the madri endangered fish நம்ம இந்தியால என்ன இருக்கு, important endangered fish is that is of some importance and relevance. So one is Sahyadri red-lined torpedo barb. Let me repeat it. I'm talking about endangered fishes. So Sahyadri red-lined torpedo barb. I've added information. It is endemic, once again, endemic to Chalakkudi River of Western Ghats of Kerala. What is its importance? Indicator of river health. Pondicherry shark, where it is found along the coast of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. What is its role? Apex predator. Deccan marsh hare, where it is found? Krishna and Tungabhadra river basin. What is its importance? It's an important game fish. Game fish na enna hunt பண்ணுவாங்க. எதை ஒன்று hunt பண்றோமோ, இந்த அனிமலை hunt பண்றோமோ, it is called as game animal or game fish. And a flagship species for conservation efforts. Which one? Deccan marsh hare, golden marsh hare, Deccan marsh hare. It is found in Krishna and Tungabhadra river. And the next is zigzag eel. Zigzag eel. So it is endemic to the Western Ghats of Kerala. And what is its importance? Indicator of river health. இதுல இல்லாத ஒரு விஷயம் ஏற்கனவே நான் உங்களுக்கு சொன்னது என்னன்னா, they are endangered. They are all endangered fish species. Okay. Next, Gucci. In fact, is one of the world-renowned and well-known fashion brand. Gucci brand annuvaanga. No, very well known. But this Gucci is different. It is a fungus. See, எந்த அளவுக்கு UPSC sometimes thinks us in a very low level. இது கூட தெரியாதான்ற மாதிரி Gucci, it's a fungus ன்றாங்க. You understand? Sometimes they test us to such a level. It grows in some Himalayan forest areas. It is commercially, இது ரெண்டும் correct, but commercial cultivation கிடையாது. It can grow only in wild conditions. Actually, answer was 1 and 2 for this 2022 question. Okay, so Gucci, maybe இதோட எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you can easily find it in anything, but இது தேவையில்லை, ஏன்னா திரும்ப Gucci வராது. Okay, வராது. பட் நாம என்ன பார்க்குறோம்னா, but what is important is, what are the fungal species that are in the recent news which are of commercial importance as well? அதோட யூனிக் ஆஸ்பெக்ட் ஏதாவது இருக்கா, நாம அதை தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். லைக் அ குச்சி. ஸோ ஒன், ஷேத்ரா மஷ்ரூம். ஸோ இது எங்கன்னா, இட்ஸ் சத்தீஸ்கர். இட் இஸ் ஃபவுண்ட் இன் சத்தீஸ்கர். The uniqueness about this ஷேத்ரா மஷ்ரூம் is, see, I know இந்த ஒரு செஷன்ல முடிஞ்ச அளவுக்கு ஐ எம் ட்ரைங் டு லோட் யூ அப் வித் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் ஆர் சோ மச் டீடைல்ஸ். பட் நீங்க உங்க ரிவிஷன்ல இதை இன்க்ளூட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. இட் வில் பி வெரி ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல். You, not many would understand the effort that has gone behind it. Now, once again, I am not saying this just for the stage value. It was really laboring. Okay, so I hope that you guys make use of it and clear the prelims. At least environment la ஒரு 10 question clear பண்றீங்க, எக்ஸ்ட்ரா ஒரு 5 question இல்ல பண்ணீங்கன்னா I'll be happy. Mission accomplished. So Chhattisgarh. And what is the uniqueness அப்படின்னா, two uniqueness. One, it is seasonal. Second, it grows on termite mounds. Kshetra mushroom. The second, tricoloma mushroom. It is in Odisha. Here, remember, there is one particular national park I'm sorry, yeah, a conservation reserve is associated. Simlipal Biosphere Reserve. What is its importance? It is a part of tribal cuisine. Tribals largely use this tricoloma mushroom in Odisha for making their curries. Then Idu mushroom, Nagaland, it is also part of tribal cuisines. Uh, this is very important. Among the all, this is very important. Sheetak mushroom, because you can find a lot of reference to this mushroom in PIB and also in other news. Sheetak mushroom, where? From Jammu and Kashmir. The uniqueness is it's a cultivated mushroom. இது வரைக்கும் நீங்க பார்த்தது எல்லாமே wild. இந்த கமர்ஷியலா grow பண்றாங்க, cultivate பண்றது என்னன்னா sheetak mushroom from Jammu and Kashmir, commercially grown because of its unique flavor and medicinal properties. The next one, the same thing, no? Jackfruit, mahua. இது என்னன்னா, this is what you know, the kind of weird things. நம்மளுக்கு இதை சொன்னாலே புரியாது, அதோட பயாலஜிக்கல் நேம் வேறையும். Okay, other things are okay. So how many of the above are deciduous trees? Okay, they are testing us. So here நாம என்ன பார்க்கணும், என்ன, what UPSC wanted you guys to know: important trees of commercial importance, and of course focus on mahua, because in that year 2023, last year prelims, there were a lot of news coming about mahua, right? Even in sites discussion, mahua was discussed. So it was lot discussed in many forums. So they asked about mahua, but in a very different way, not in the way that we expected. So இதுல நம்ம என்ன பார்க்கலாம்னா, முக்கியமா important trees of commercial importance. I think I made that information. I don't know where it has gone. Okay. Have we given already the important trees of importance? Okay, so I'll add it up. I think I prepared it. I don't know where it went. One slide is missing, I think. Okay. Forget. We'll move on. நான் உங்களுக்கு PPT தரும்போது நான் அதை ஆட் பண்ணி உங்களுக்கு தரேன். So next question, once again, the most recent, சுட இட்லி தரும். Marsupials are not naturally found in India. Marsupials can thrive only in montane grasslands with no predators. I hope you know the logic of how to resolve this statement 1 and statement 2. Right? You know that, right? You have to add because, or you have to say this is true because, you have to say that, or this is false because. If it is false, then this will come. If this is true, then this will come. You understand what I'm saying that? So you have to have some idea, because I've seen many students know both are correct. I've seen many times when I sit with the students and talk with them, they know that both statements are correct, let's say, but they do not know whether A comes or B comes. So that is a tragedy. What is the correct connection that you can make between the statement 1 and statement 2? I think UPSC wants you to become 50% officers, because you have to do all this what you are when you sit in your throne, right? It's a throne, right? You have to do a lot of this thing. So they want you to know whether you actually make the connection between two very different statements. They're testing you even already. So you can expect a lot of questions like this. Okay, but if we go further, what else we can know from this? What other extra information that we can get from this? Okay, they are asking about marsupials. Indiaல marsupials கிடையாது. அப்போ இதுக்கு ரெலவெண்டா வேற என்ன யூனிக் ஸ்பீஷிஸ்? பட் இட்ஸ் அ மேமல். மார்சுபியல்ஸ் ஆர் மேமல்ஸ். ஸோ வேற என்ன ஸ்பீஷிஸ் ரெலவெண்டா இதுக்கு க்ளோஸா நம்ம தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒன், வாட் ஆர் கால்ட் அஸ் wait a minute. Okay, manatees. Manatees. So let's say few about manatees. Yes, dugong comes under this. Manatees. So manatees பத்தி some points பார்த்துக்கலாம். So what are manatees அப்படின்னா, in fact not only manatees, sirenians also. Manatees and sirenians. So என்ன அப்படின்னா manatees and sirenians, they are aquatic mammals. Manatees and sirenians are aquatic mammals which can be found in both fresh water as well as in salt water. They are not like only exclusive. Found in both fresh water as well as in salt water. Their uniqueness is they have flippers. They have flippers. They don't have hand. We have hand. They have flippers. The uniqueness about them is, once again I told you species na mukkiyama enna paakano, diet paakano. They are primarily herbivorous. Manatees and sirenians, they are primarily herbivorous diet, and they are usually slow moving animals. They are usually very slow moving animals. Idhula da dugong la varanga. This is where dugong comes. Dugong, sea lions. The next group of animals similar to this manatees, marsupials, adula vara aduthathu yaruna monotremes. Monotremes. Okay. So who these monotremes are? Monotremes are, இப்போ marsupials மாதிரியே இவங்களும் mammals தான், but very different. They are egg laying mammals. Yes, egg laying mammals. Okay, so monotremes are egg laying mammals. So but இதுல இன்னொரு uniqueness என்னன்னா, பொதுவா we usually think that only that which gives birth feeds the young ones through the mother's milk. But என்ன ஒரு விஷயம்னா, even though it is a egg laying mammal, it feeds the young one, it nourishes the young one with the mother's milk. So monotremes, even though they lay eggs, they are all known to nourish the young one through the mother's milk. One, first uniqueness. The second என்ன அப்படின்னா, examples. Okay, two examples of monotremes என்னன்னா, one platypus, second echidnas. Echidnas. Echidnas actually yaruna spiny anteater. So platypus 1, spiny anteater. They are actually come under what is called as echidnas. But let me add one extra very unique information about platypus. Platypus would have very uniqueness in abdina. They have venom in their hind leg. It looks like very chubby, like a paakarathukku enna tropic la irukra penguin mari irupanga. They look very like a penguin, but they have venom. They have venomous glands in their hind leg. Okay, and another point, okay, I told two things. No, first thing I told you, they nourishes the young one with the milk. The second uniqueness in abdina, egg laying mammals, monotremes, they have the hybrid characters of mammals and reptiles. Reptile மாதிரியும் இருப்பாங்க, but also they are mammals like. So they have both the features of reptiles and mammals. That's the second unique point about monotremes. So two we have seen. Examples I told you, platypus and spiny anteaters. இந்த மாதிரியான animals இருக்காங்க தெரியுமா, monotremes, so marsupials, so they are found only in Australia or New Zealand or New Guinea. These are the three locations where these animals are found: Australia, New Zealand or New Guinea. They are not found anywhere else. So they have a special evolution going on there. Okay, moving to the next. How many of the above are generally nocturnal or most active after sunset? Nama nanikalam. Once again, and the 22 animals sonnan theriyuma, you can find them. So it's not actually about nocturnal active sunset. The question is actually about whether you are aware of this species. அவங்களோட diet, அவங்களோட இடம், அவங்களோட conservation status, what other behavior do you aware of it? That's what the question is about. So don't get distracted by this. You prepared on this becomes easy. So on the 22, an extra species that I've given you later, which were in the news like caracal, so focus on them. The next question, also last year question, waggle dance. Okay, honey bees. But இதுக்கு வந்து I couldn't find out. என்ன ரீசனுக்காக கேட்டிருப்பாங்க, I couldn't find out. But maybe, no, now it strikes me, when I was preparing it didn't come, because let me tell you, most of these were intuitively done. There is not like a one set pattern ahead. அதை பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு ஆர்டிக்கல் வரும், because of this they would have asked it, it struck there. But here, when I was talking with you now, it suddenly struck me, because there is one recently used pesticides that affects the bees' behavior, in which they lose all forms of communication. Maybe that is actually known to cause a lot of damage to the honeybees. It's actually called as neonicotinoids. The European Union is taking strong measures against the neonicotinoids, because neonicotinoids is not harmful to humans, but it effectively kills pests. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி யூஸ் பண்ண பெஸ்டிசைட்ஸ் என்ன? DDT, dieldrin. They are all extremely damaging to humans. They wanted to develop, they are called as organochlorides. Let me tell you that. Organochlorides என்னன்னா pesticides that has impact on both the pest as well as humans. So they wanted to develop a new class of a pesticide in which humans are safe. அதுக்கு வந்தது neonicotinoids. But the problem with the neonicotinoids is it is safe for humans but extremely harmful for honeybees. If they are exposed, they lose this very behavior of waggle dance. They cannot communicate, they lose all the coherence, and everybody becomes sannyasis. It's actually social behavior. The family மாதிரி இருப்பாங்க. இந்த neonicotinoid வந்து ஆளாளுக்கு ஒரு இடத்துல போயிடுவாங்க. The whole colony will die. So maybe I think ஒருவேளை அதனால இருக்கலாம் நான் நினைக்கிறேன், but I don't know. So maybe neonicotinoids I thought of. The next one, can you tell me what's the right answer for this? Yes, all of the above is the answer. No need of extra thinking. Okay, once again you see Indian squirrels. So this is another question ma. எனக்கு ஏன் Indian squirrel கேட்டாங்க தெரியல. I tried to search in PIB. Is there any kind of a mention about this? But nowhere I found out. இந்த மாதிரி பவுன்சர்ஸும் இருக்கும். கிரிக்கெட்ல இருக்குமா டக்குனு பவுன்சர் போடுவாங்க. எஸ் என்னன்னு maybe he may have a voice within Tamil Nadu, but okay. Ram Sedu. Okay. Okay.
Even on the elephant question கூட அப்படிதான் சார். அந்த டைம்ல வந்து ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு பிக் ஸ்மால் சைஸ் பாம் வந்து இந்த மண்ணை போடுறதுக்காக வைக்கும்போது அது சாப்பிட்டு வெடிச்சிடும். அப்போ வந்து அது மதர் அது கன்சீவா இருக்கும் போதே வந்து வாயில வெடிச்சாது. கேரளால போயிட்டு இருக்கும். கேரளால போயிட்டு ஒரு வாட்டர்லயே ரொம்ப நேரம் ஸ்டே பண்ணி அங்கேயே வந்து அதை பேஸ் பண்ணி கேரளா.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so but also even though the species comes, once again you can see no at least one dietary preference. At least நம்மளுக்கு தெரியும் they are known for storing the food materials, உள்ள வச்சிட்டு போவாங்க. They build a nest by making burrows in the ground. They actually arboreal, tree la da irupanga, not on the ground. So actually this was wrong. So நான் ஏன் explanation actually சொல்லலனா இது யூஸ் கிடையாது. This is like a dead body. திரும்ப செத்த பாம்பு திரும்ப அடிக்கூடாது. These questions are like a dead snake. Let's not hit it again. Okay, the next. One second. Which one of the following makes a tool with a stick to scrape insects? Last year question. யார் அவங்க? Orangutan. Okay. So animals that has some skill to use. Once again, unique behavior. இந்த மாதிரி வேற என்ன அனிமல் பண்றாங்க? Maybe இது கொஞ்சம் பெருசா இருக்கும், but let me give you in a very simple way to take revision notes. Humpback whales. Humpback whales. இவங்களோட யூனிக் ஒரு 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 பிஹேவியரல் பேட்டர்ன் என்னன்னா, இட் இஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் bubble net feeding, in which they attack their prey in a very coordinated fashion, like a very clear hunting method. It's called as bubble net feeding. It is done by humpback whales. Second, ants. நம்ம ants பத்தி முன்னாடி ஒன்னு பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா, cultivators. Not only that, they also maintain graveyards to discard the dead ones. Yes. Next, archer fish. This archer fish is a very unique. It's like a ace shooter. கீழே இருப்பாங்க, சின்ன சின்ன இன்செக்ட்ஸ் மேல அந்த the small plants which is along the water body, they shoot a jet of water. இன்செக்ட்ல பட்டு கீழே விழும், they eat that. Archer fish. அதனால அவங்க பேரே archer. They shoot. So archer fish, what they do? They spit streams of water. Then woodpecker finches of Galapagos. Woodpecker finches from Galapagos. இவங்களோட unique behavior என்ன, like orangutan, they use spine or cactus. முள்ளு யூஸ் பண்றாங்க. They use that to take larvae or other worms from the crevices. அதை குத்தி வெளியே எடுக்கிறதுக்கு, like a barbecue. The next is prairie ducks. So prairie ducks oda uniqueness enna appadina, nowadays we recognize that, but it seems like we don't know it. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because it is not cognizable to us, so absence of an evidence is not an evidence of absence in solluvaanga. So here prairie ducks is known to have a sophisticated language system. It has been recognized. They use a different call signs for different predators. So இது பாத்தீங்கன்னா the unique behavior of animals that has been in the news in the recent times. இது இல்லாம இன்னும் நிறைய இருக்கு. Yes, let me add one more important thing. There is also one unique behavior called as eusociality. It's called as eusociality. So eusociality is the social behavior of insects such as ants, bees and termites. The social hierarchical organization of these animals are called as eusociality, followed by ant, bees and termites. Okay. Let us move to the next major area, conservation. இது கான்சர்வேஷன் வரணும். ஸோ கான்சர்வேஷன் இப்போ பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கோம். யூ சி தட் இப்போ இந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ் என்ன பேட்டர்ன்ல வருது, இதற்கு ஸ்பீஷிஸ் அண்ட் வைல்ட் லைஃப் பார்த்தோம். யூ ஹவ் சீன் சர்டன் பேட்டர்ன். ஸோ இன் திஸ் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் இட் சேஸ் விச் ஒன் ஆஃப் தி ஃபாலோயிங் நேஷனல் பார்க் ஹாஸ் அ கிளைமேட் that varies from tropical to subtropical, temperate and arctic. Okay, geographical features or geoclimatic features. The second, 2019, this question is in 2019. 2015 they asked once, after a gap of 4 years they asked once again. National park, which national park lies completely in the temperate alpine zone? So they want this to be known, but there are about 106 national parks. இல்ல யாரு எங்க எந்த கிளைமேட்ல எங்கிருந்து எங்க போறாங்க, it's a nightmare. So very difficult. Okay, but look at the protected areas. So இது கஷ்டமா இருக்கும். இத பாத்தீங்கன்னா it seems like completely you are lost. This also you can guess to some extent here, but generally it will be very confounding, கஷ்டமா இருக்கும். பட் அதை விட்டுருங்க, இதை பாருங்க, because we can find that here. Okay, next. Which one of the following national park is unique in being a swamp with a floating vegetation that supports a rich biodiversity. Floating vegetation ale fundis. And it's actually Keibul Lamjo National Park. So what they are asking, they are trying to ask us about the protected areas with certain unique or special features. That's what their focus is. So அந்த மாதிரி national parks இல்லைன்னா வைல்ட் லைஃப் சாங்சுரிஸ் இந்தியாவில் என்ன என்ன இருக்கு இப்போதைக்கு இன் டர்ம்ஸ் ஆஃப் டிஸ்கஷன் ஆல்சோ ரீசென்ட் டிஸ்கஷன் இன் த நியூஸ் வில் சி தட் இது கொஞ்சம் பெருசா இருக்கும் பேர் வித் இட் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒன் ஹெமிஸ் நேஷனல் பார்க் ஹெமிஸ் நேஷனல் பார்க் யூ வுட் ஹவ் சீன் இந்த நேஷனல் பார்க் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வுட் ஹவ் கேம் இன் எனி ஒன் ஆஃப் த சாய்ஸஸ் இன் த ரீசென்ட் இயர் கொஸ்டின் நீங்க இஃப் யூ அப்சர்வ் இட் வெரி க்ளோஸ்லி these national parks would have come at least once now and then in it may not be a right answer but this national parks would have repeated abcd la onnavathu vandirukum so why it all features is because of that certain unique features that they have so what are the unique features of these national parks idhiliyum pathina there are multiple layered information one by one national park enna adu enga irukku that one level of the primary level of information. Then second, what is its uniqueness? Hemis National Park, the first uniqueness is largest national park in India. Second, it is known for its flagship species, snow leopard. Second, Kaziranga, you all would have known, Assam. But what is its uniqueness is, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Not only it's a home for rhinoceros, in fact, the most density of rhinoceros is found in Kaziranga National Park. Third one, Ran of Kutch Wildlife Sanctuary of Gujarat. The uniqueness about this is the only sanctuary where Indian wild ass can be found. Ran of Kutch Wildlife Sanctuary of Gujarat. The next one, Kanchenjunga. If you ask me to repeat it, I will never. Kanchenjunga. So this Sikkim. Now this is something very unique. It is UNESCO's India's only mixed World Heritage Site. So this is the only world's mixed heritage site. So something very unique for this characteristic that it has. The next one, Dachigam National Park of Jammu and Kashmir. Dachigam National Park is known for Hangul, also called as Kashmir stag. இப்போ உங்களுக்கு இதுக்கு முன்னாடி கேட்ட கொஸ்டின் நிறைய கோரிலேட் பண்ண முடியும் இதுக்காக இதை கேட்டாங்களா இல்ல இதுக்காக இதை கேட்டாங்களா கோழில இருந்து முட்டை வந்ததா முட்டைல இருந்து கோழி வந்தா நம்மளுக்கு தேவையில்லை ஆக மொத்தம் நம்ம ஆம்லெட் போட்டு சாப்பிடணும் இல்லைன்னா சிக்கன் 65 சாப்பிட்டா போதும் முட்டைனா ஆம்லெட்டு கோழி இருந்தா 65 that's what our purpose is if you are non-vegetarians if you are vegetarians I'm sorry okay the next one is this angul is also state animal of Jammu and Kashmir the next Bhitarkanika National Park Odisha so Bhitarkanika National Park oda mukkiyamaana species enna rendu the uniqueness about this Bhitarkanika of Odisha one saltwater crocodiles. It is having the highest number of saltwater crocodiles. Second, it is a nesting site for Oliver Ridley turtles. The two things. The next one, Nanda Devi National Park, Uttarakhand. In the Nanda Devi National Park, or uniqueness, this is considered to be one of the pristine forests of India, where humans have not encroached yet. So Nanda Devi National Park. And what are the important flagship species? Himalayan musk deer and snow leopard. The next, Namdapa National Park of Arunachal Pradesh. What is its uniqueness? It's the largest protected area in the eastern Himalayas. What are its unique species that can be found? Clouded leopard. Once again, the same species you could have find in 22 species that are identified for protection. Hulu gibbon or uniqueness enna? The only ape found in India, exactly, yes. And the pigtail makai, yes. Apart எஸ், ஞாபகம் வச்சிருக்கீங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட், மதிக்கெட்டான் ஷோலா நேஷனல் பார்க், கேரளா. So not literally. So Madikettan Shola National Park, as the name itself suggests. So what is the uniqueness about this national park? Known for Shola forests. Shola forest uniqueness enna theriyuma? It's a high altitude ecosystem where the dense forest is seen as a pocket in a grassland. Actually mala mela grassland ah irukum, ஒரு சின்ன valley dip இருக்கும். அந்த valley dipல you can see dense forest. இந்த மாதிரி பஞ்சா கொத்து கொத்தா அங்கங்க இருப்பாங்க. That's called as Shola forest. So this Shola forest are actually considered to be endemic only to the Western Ghats. It is not found anywhere else. It is found only in Western Ghats. So Madikettan Shola National Park is very well known for that. Even ta Madikettan Tamil Nadu கிடையாது, Kerala. Satpura National Park, Madhya Pradesh. What is the tag name it has? It is called as photographer's paradise. There are a lot in that, so bear with it. The next one, Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve. Remember, Biosphere Reserve. I'm not saying national parks. Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve of Madhya Pradesh. What is the uniqueness of Dina? One unique thing about this Biosphere Reserve is what is called as bee fall. Because there can be, in the rock formations in them, the bee forms such a huge hives, it seems like a waterfall. And the கூடு கட்டது எப்படி இருக்குன்னா waterfall மாதிரி இருக்குமா. It is called as bee fall. So Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve of Madhya Pradesh, known for the bee fall. Next, Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserves. Obviously Andaman and Nicobar Islands. What is the uniqueness? They are home to Champagne tribes, and also like Oliver Ridley turtle க்கு ஒரு இடம் bitter கனிகா இருக்கிற மாதிரி Great Nicobar க்கு giant leatherback sea turtle. It's a nesting site for giant leatherback sea turtle. Then the next one, Keolaidio National Park. The uniqueness about the Keolaidio National Park is it is a Ramsar site that is artificial wetland. It is an artificial wetland, but it's a Ramsar site. It is also called as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. It's actually Keolaidio National Park. It was also called as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In fact, uniqueness enna Keolaidio National Park is an important stopover for birds coming from Central Asian Flyway. Central Asian Flyway that starts from pole, north to pole, until to the South Asia. ஒரு ஸ்டாப் ஓவர், ஒரு இப்போ எப்படி இங்கேருந்து மதுரை போனால் ஈரோட்டில் நிற்கிறாங்க, சாரி மதுரைக்கு ஈரோடு எங்க, சாரி திருச்சியில் நிற்கிறாங்க இல்லையா, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஸ்டாப் ஓவர் சைட் தான் என்னன்னா Keolaidio National Park. So and it's an important stopover destination in Central Asian Flyway. Then Eravikulam National Park of Kerala. The uniqueness about the Eravikulam is it is known home to Nilgiri tar, an endangered species, an endemic species only to Western Ghats. In addition, இதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரு நீலக்குறிஞ்சி பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா. So Eravikulam is also known for நீலக்குறிஞ்சி flowers. So two places that we have seen so far relevant to நீலக்குறிஞ்சி flowers. Okay, so the important national parks or wildlife sanctuaries or biosphere reserves where they are, and it's a very important unique species. Like climate la add பண்ணனா it will become too cumbersome. So அதனால அது வேணாம், அதை விட்டுட்டு, but it can be expected. The next one, recently there was a proposal to translocate some of the lions from the natural habitat in Gujarat to which one of the following state? Kuno. But they will never do it, never ever. So the question is about animal translocation projects. So what we have to do, let us do, what are all the animals that have been translocated in India? From where to where? Okay. Asiatic lion from Gir forest to Sasan Gir Wildlife Sanctuary in Gujarat. So inga kondu poi vittirukanga. It actually translocation sollalama வேணாமான்றது நீங்களே முடிவு பண்ணிக்க. பட் ஆக்சுவலி டிரான்ஸ்லோகேஷன் வரும்போது ரிசல்ட்ஸ்ல இதுவும் வருது. So therefore we have to include. So இதுல என்ன பார்க்கறோம்னா இதுலயும் பாருங்க once again see this data in a non-linear fashion. One, இந்த species எங்கிருந்து எங்க போயிருக்காங்க, எந்த state, one. Second, the species that have been translocated in India so far. This also is another information. Second one is Bengal tiger. So Bengal tiger translocated, yes. Ranthambore, it has been taken to Sariska Tiger Reserve. Sariska Tiger Reserve is very important for one reason, because it is known to be one of the tiger reserve. In fact, in the tiger reserve legal status தந்தது காரணமே Sariska Tiger Reserve தான். 2003 4 ஒரு situation வருது, it's a tiger reserve with no tigers. யாருக்குடா டீ ஆத்துறீங்கன்ற மாதிரி. And then government and the media reports lambasted and criticized the government, which government appointed a tiger task force. அவங்க தான் they gave important recommendations, upon which in 2006 Wildlife Protection Act was amended. And amendment தான் என்ன பண்றாங்க, they give a legal recognition to Project Tiger, and also they create tiger conservation, tiger force இருக்கு இல்லையா, they create all that. It all comes because of this tiger, Sariska Tiger Reserve of Rajasthan. So from Ranthambore to there. So this is mostly factual, but the point is it gives lot of multi-layered information. Go slow with this. So Indian rhinoceros from Kaziranga to Manas. Asiatic elephant have also been translocated from many part of Assam, West Bengal and Odisha to, once again, Buxa Tiger Reserve in West Bengal, Majuli Island of Assam. So this is very important because it's a riverine island known for the biggest artificial forest. Okay, so the other species also, it includes, see, remember, what are all the species that have been translocated in India? Gaur have also been translocated. Barasinga or swamp deer have also been translocated. Vultures, but vultures now, it's not literally translocation. They have been captured in the wild and taken to conservation breeding centers. So இதுல என்ன இன்னொரு information இருக்குன்னா, where the conservation breeding centers for vultures are located. Pinjore of Haryana, Buxa Tiger Reserve in West Bengal, and Baikunthpur in Chhattisgarh. Great Indian bustard, and the same goes for Sangai deer as well. Then, in which of the following states is Pakui Wildlife Sanctuary located? Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, now comes the next thing. இது ஒரு லெவல்ல ஒன்னு பார்த்தோம். Important national parks, wildlife sanctuaries with unique features. This one, Pakui Wildlife Sanctuary, why they have asked this question? When I try to see that, because அப்படிதான் கெஸ் பண்ண முடியும்ன்றது ஒரு I was thinking about it. When I was searching, I came across one important program called as Management Effectiveness Evaluation, MEE. Management Effectiveness Evaluation, which is implemented by MOEF to evaluate, to assess that how better the protected areas are managed, how well the protected areas are properly run. அதை எவாலுவேட் பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்டைஸ்டு ப்ரோக்ராம் உருவாக்குறாங்க, அதுதான் MEE. The MEE evaluate பண்ணிட்டு they rank this national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, which is this is best அப்படின்ட்டு. So I went into that MEE document, evaluation report, and this is what they have mentioned as something doing good or something not doing good. So in the document, the management effectiveness evaluation இருந்து, because these are the good performing ones, I have taken the list of national parks. நான் உங்களுக்கு என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, இது மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் கம்பல்சமா உங்களுக்கு இருக்கும், ப்ளீஸ் இதை மட்டும் நீங்க பண்ண முடியுமா பாருங்க. என்ன செய்யணும் அப்படின்னா, these are the national parks, the wildlife sanctuaries or national parks identified in the management effectiveness evaluation document released in 2021. அதுக்கப்புறம் நடக்கல, ஸோ அதனால தான் அந்த ரீசெண்ட் ரிப்போர்ட்டு. இதுல என்ன நீங்க செய்யணும்னா, இது வரைக்கும் நம்ம பார்த்த அந்த 3 டிமாண்ட் என்ன பார்த்தோம்? ஜியோ கிளைமேட்டிக் ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் ஆஃப் தெம். ஸோ இது ஒவ்வொன்றுத்துக்கும் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஜியோ கிளைமேட்டிக் ஃபீச்சர் என்ன? 1. செகண்ட், யூனிக் ஃபீச்சர்ல இருந்துன்னா நான் உங்களுக்கு ஏற்கனவே அதில் டாக்குமெண்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். But if I missed it, unique feature. Third, flagship species. இந்த மூணு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் மட்டும் பார்த்து வச்சுக்கோங்க. If you want to overdo, it's up to you, but don't do that. For example, இது எந்த மவுண்டன்ல எந்த சைடுல எந்த பக்கம் பார்த்து சூரியன் எந்த பக்கம் வந்துட்டு don't overdo it, because now you have to do revision. ரொம்ப பண்ணாதீங்க, save your time. இந்த மூணு விஷயம் மட்டும் இந்த எல்லாத்துக்கும் பண்ணுங்க, because these are the important protected areas identified under this. So please use this. I'll share this with you. By tomorrow you will get this. Fine. The next one, this is about with reference to states mentioned above in terms of percentage of forest cover to the total area of the state. We're talking about forest cover to the total area of the state. Obviously இது நீங்க கொஞ்சம் ஃபேக்ட் தெரிஞ்சுனா சொல்லிருக்கணும். ஆக்சுவலா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன வரணும், மத்திய பிரதேஷ் வரணும். At least you can eliminate the C and D. So here they're talking about forest cover. இப்போ இதுல இருந்து நம்ம என்ன derive பண்ணலாம் அப்படினு பாக்கும்போது, what can we derive from this? Okay, so what are the basic terminologies used? First we need to identify that. What are the terminologies used in this? ஏன்னா எங்க ஃபாரஸ்ட் அதிகமா இருக்கு எங்க குறையுது நம்ம சொல்லலாம். நார்த் ஈஸ்ட்ல குறைஞ்சிருக்கு. Okay, but we need to identify that. So these are the four important terminologies used in the forest India State of Forest Report, ISFR 2021. Indian State of Forest Report 2021. Forest, recorded forest area, open forest, above ground biomass. These are the four major things that they use. Forest in எதை சொல்றாங்க அப்படின்னா, one, only two things they use. Canopy density should be more than 10%. Second, size should be more than 1 hectare. இது ரெண்டு criteria தான். It doesn't talk anything about ownerships, whether it's a private land or a public land. As long as canopy density is more than 10%, as long as it has maybe I asked this in dispatch. So forest, the second one is recorded forest area. இது என்ன அப்படின்னா, மொட்டை தலையா இருந்தாலும் முடி இருக்குன்னு கவர்மெண்ட்ல எழுதிட்டாங்கன்னா நீங்க அதுக்கு பூ வைக்கணும். Right? So this is like that. So as long as it is recorded in the revenue records as a forest, it is considered to be a forest area, irrespective of the tree cover, the canopy density, or anything else. So recorded forest area. The next one, open forest. So open forest என்ன அப்படின்னா, canopy density is more than 10%, but it is not a forest. Why? Because it has a canopy density between 10 to 40%. So any forest with a canopy density of 10 to 40% is called as open forest. And the last one is above ground biomass. What is this above ground biomass? It's very simple, and the uniqueness is this is the first time, the 2021 ISFR is the first time that this was evaluated. Above ground biomass. So what is this that they do? The total amount of organic matter, which includes both living and dead, that is present above the ground level in an area of forest. அந்த லேண்ட்ல நீங்க போய் நின்னா கூட உங்களோட பயோமாஸையும் எடுத்து உள்ள போட்டுருவாங்க. So that's called as total amount of biomass which includes both living or dead in that area of forest is called as above ground biomass. Let me add one last information. I might have said that in the test batch, but I would like to repeat it again. இது above ground biomass இல்ல, இந்த மூணுமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த forest cover எப்படி assess பண்றாங்கன்னா through remote sensing, 100% remote sensing, particularly using data from VSAT2. So some important findings of ISFR 2021. Increase in forest cover has been observed in open forest. Okay, followed by very dense forest, while moderately dense forests have declined. Okay, open forest, I told you, Okay. States in Northeast have recorded the highest loss in forest cover. As I said earlier, it is the Northeast India which recorded the highest loss of forests. And then this ranking, which has the highest forest area in terms of the size. Madhya Pradesh followed by Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Maharashtra, first 5 ranks. Then increase in mangrove cover. In the numbers, you need to know the trend. So according to ISF for 2021, there is increase in mangrove cover, tick. There is an increase in forest cover, tick. There is increase in carbon stock, tick. Right? Because don't speak anything till election results come. Okay. Okay. Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserves. Actually, once again, this is a kind of a bouncer area. என்னுடைய சிறுமூளைக்கு எட்டல, but a lot of fight between my small brain and the big brain, and finally I have no clue at all. So this is something like a bouncer question. I don't know why it was asked. So I'm leaving it there. The next one is largest area under critical tiger habitat. So this so-called the critical tiger habitat, in fact, is dealt in 2 laws. Even though we think that, okay, critical tiger habitat, which law that you think of? WPA 1972. Ah, yes. So this concept of critical tiger habitat, in fact, is dealt in 2 laws. One, WPA 1972, and second, FRA 2006. In both of these acts, they are dealt with. But here they are asking largest area under critical tiger habitat. Answer you, of course, you would have known this one. So they are trying to ask this, which is largest or which is smallest? The 2020 question. So I prepared a slide. The largest national park, I'm sorry, there's a mistake here. Hemis is the largest national park. Okay, so I'll move this. So one moment, there's a mistake that happened. I'll change this and give it back. There was a mistake there. Okay, the next one is India's Desert National Park. Which of the following statements are correct? Desert National Park is related to actually Great Indian Bustard, which also been often debated, and the ways to conserve them have been very much discussed in Supreme Court. And Supreme Court also made interventions in the Rajasthan government for the laying of transmission cables under the ground, which they have declined to do so. So because of that reason, this Desert National Park came, which is habitat to Great Indian Bustard, yes. Which of the following protected areas are located in the Kaveri Basin? Okay. இல்லம்மா நான் அது பார்க்கல. I was thinking what is related to. See, then I couldn't correlate that answer. I was not thinking what correlation I was thinking. No, what I thought of it. என்ன correlate பண்ணனும்னு. So this Kaveri Basin என்ன protected area வருது அதெல்லாம் correlate பண்ண முடியல. Maybe if you do, please help me with it. Okay, next one. The next major topic. I think with the time that we have, we will try to finish this. In fact, if you ask me, the easiest area, according to me, maybe you may feel different, but according to me, the most easiest area in the environment is this area, pollution. இதுல மட்டும் क्वेश्चन மிஸ் பண்ணாதீங்க. முடிஞ்ச அளவுக்கு கெஸ் பண்ணி போட்டுருங்க. கண்ணை மூடிட்டா ஏதாவது சூஸ் பண்ணுங்க. பட் இதை மட்டும் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணாம வராதீங்க. My humble request, okay, because you'll thank me later. So இந்த பொல்யூஷன் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா இதுலயும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா some trend will emerge. What are the trend? Nitrogenous fertilizers in agriculture. Okay. Impact. They're asking about impact. Impact is asking effects or consequences. Okay, good. 1. So impact of pollution. 1. Possible consequences of heavy sand mining in riverbeds. Once again, consequence. Why is there a great concern? Once again, consequence. So the pollution in the questions நீங்க பார்த்தாலே தெரியும். One thing which they are asking related to this area is what are the consequences of that pollution to that ecosystem or to that species or to that. So consequential reasoning is very relevant to this particular area. In fact, இது ஒரு முக்கியமான ட்ரெண்ட் பாருங்க. 3 times question have been asked, 15, 18 and 19. Okay, இப்போ என்ன பண்ணலாம்? What can I say? In fact, if you see, according to MOEF, I'm sorry, not MOEF, CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, have identified 17 category of highly polluting industries. These are the 17 highly polluting industries according to CPCB. If you see, our previous year questions have been touched upon one of these industries. Take for example, fertilizer, tick. Petrochemical, tick. Copper smelter, iron and steel, refineries, cement, pulp and paper also have been asked. So the point is, I would say, like as I said earlier, pollution பார்த்தோம்னா என்ன focus பண்ணணும்? You have to see which is most polluting. So according to this, what I will say is, these are the most polluting 17 industries, not I am saying, CPCB saying. So நீங்க என்ன செய்யணும் அப்படின்னா, இந்த 17 industry இருக்கு தெரியுமா, what you have to do is, for the 7, what are the pollutants involved? You may feel, sir, ரொம்ப அதிகமா இருக்குமே. இல்ல, one Google search, pollutants from sugar industries in India, pollutants from cement industries in India, அப்படியே போடுங்க, pollutants identify பண்ணுங்க. Second, effects. Effects na, I mean to say, air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution. நீங்க அதை பார்க்கும்போது இது வந்துடும். இது ரெண்டு மட்டும் பண்ணா போதும். So for the 17 industries, do these two things. See, அப்படி சொல்ல முடியாது, because then it becomes very difficult to say that. But what I can say is, repetition is not there. அப்படி பார்க்கும்போது இது ரிப்பீட் ஆகிறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு கம்மியா இருக்கலாம், but they may ask a different aspect of that also, so I cannot conclude it. If I say just you asked, it will become a false statement which I am not convinced myself. அதனால நான் உங்களுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லெவல் என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, மிச்சம் இருக்கிற இண்டஸ்ட்ரி, உங்களுக்கு நியூஸ் பேப்பர், நீங்க you would have been following the newspapers, you would have known, okay, sugar industry seems to be an area that has not been asked so far, but still a very relevant topic. So sugar focus பண்ணலாம். Then pesticides, you see that? So இதுல இல்லாதத மத்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரீஸை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுங்க. The remaining areas, what you can do is, already previous year question இருக்கும், நீங்க காப்பர் ஸ்மெல்டர் previous year UPSC question போடுங்க, அந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன் தந்திருப்பாங்க இல்லையா, you use that for reading. ஓ, நீங்க அப்படி கேக்குறீங்களா? See, அப்படி சொல்ல முடியாது. This is not like a core industry, something concept like that, where which contributes the most to the economy. அப்படி கிடையாது. In fact, அப்படி இருந்திருக்கலாம், but I'm not aware of, because I can say with my own opinion, when we say most polluting, we have to be very careful. Is it talking about air? Is it about soil? Is it about water? Which we cannot define it. For example, when we say sugar industry, it's more polluting to water. But when we say refineries, it's most polluting to air. Just to be clearer, you cannot bring it into one discussion, one domain. Okay. But in terms of quantities that we deal with, I'll say refineries. The mere sheer scale of what's happening, I would say with refineries. But still, I'm not convinced. Just because you ask me, I'm concluding that. Okay. So 17, this, use it as a data source for further making points. Okay. The next one. This next question. So that one asked about consequences. Let's see about this. Now they are talking about certain pollutants. CO, CO2, NO2. Now they are talking about pollutants. So understand, முன்னாடி industry கேட்டு pollutant, இப்போ pollutant கேட்டு impact. You see that? That's how they move on. Carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, ozone, okay. Causes of acid rain. In fact, ஒரே ஒரு இடம் மட்டும் what I haven't included here in the question compilation, but one area which I have seen of repetition is acid rain. இதற்கு 3 times acid rain question வந்திருக்கு. So something or the other relevant to acid rain that they love the most. But acid rain பார்த்து வெச்சுக்கங்க, particularly photochemical smog. So acid rain photochemical smog கொஞ்சம் பார்த்து வெச்சுக்கங்க. Then WHO air quality guidelines, இதெல்லாம் கெஸ் பண்ணாதீங்க, விட்டுணும், இந்த கொஸ்டின்லாம் விட்டுணும். You should never touch it. These are all kind of, abomination. They're abomination, evil, untouchables. Okay. Now, what I would like to tell you here, sir, இதில் என்ன சார் பண்ணலாம்? Maybe in the later slide I'll give you one important, 17 எப்படி சொன்னோனோ அதே மாதிரி இதுக்கு நான் ஒரு டேட்டா உங்களுக்கு சொல்றேன். But அதுக்கு முன்னாடி, before that, let me give you some important programs. You might be aware of it, but let me repeat it once again. Important pollution management programs in India. So in the pollution management program, எப்படி பார்க்கணும்னு நான் அதை சொல்ல, I'll include it later. The first pollution management program என்னன்னா, National Ambient Air Quality Standards, NAAQS பார்த்து வச்சுக்கோங்க. என்ன பார்க்கணும்னு நான் சொல்றேன், don't worry. NAAQS, National Ambient Air Quality Standards, one. Second, National Air Quality Monitoring Program, NAQMP. National Air Quality Monitoring Program, second. Third, National Clean Air Program, NCAP. Fourth, GRAP, Graded Response Action Plan. All these are relevant only about air. But remember, next one, Water Quality Standards of CPCB. Second, that's one category. Air pollution agadu. Second, say, நீங்க நினைக்கிறீங்க சார் ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இல்ல. Google searchல நான் இந்த வேர்ட் அப்படியே போடுங்க, you'll get the first result. Water Quality Standards. Third, Ambient Noise Standards. Fourth, Thermal Pollution Standards. In fact, thermal pollution is also been recently recognized, but we don't see heat to pollution. Yes, heat is a pollution in water bodies, thermal pollution. So in the நாலு kind of pollution standards இல்ல norms CPCB ல பாத்துருங்க. இது நான் சொன்னது அப்படியே கூகுள்ல டைப் பண்ணி you'll get the results. So don't do over search, don't spend too much time on this, right? So let's move next. I'll come to later, you'll understand why I'm saying that. Next one, we are talking about carbon sequestration. 2017 there was a question on carbon sequestration, and in 2023 also there was another time the question have been repeated. It's a very important technology of recent times for the mitigation of the climate change, carbon capture and sequestration. Now, okay, I'm sorry. Carbon capture and sequestration. இந்த இடத்துல பாத்தீங்கன்னா, I want to tell you, இந்த carbon capture recent the two kind of methods which is a part of carbon capture and sequestration, which is often discussed, which you may have came across or not, but I want you guys to be made exposed to that. So two things, two important methods or technologies I want to correlate with this carbon capture and sequestration, CCS. The first one is called as enhanced oil recovery. Enhanced oil recovery. So என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படின்னா, இங்க என்ன பண்றோம், கார்பனை கேப்சர் பண்ணிடுறோம். அது எங்க போய் விடுறது? This is like a ghost. You want to pump it to somewhere, right? இது என்ன பண்றாங்கன்னா, they wanted to pump it, pump the carbon into depleted reserve areas. The crude reserves இருக்கு தெரியுமா, டிப்ளீட் ஆயிருக்கும். இதுக்கு மேல எடுத்தீங்கன்னா மண்ணு தான் வரும், crude oil வராது. அந்த மாதிரி இடத்துல they plan to pump the carbon dioxide into it. இது என்ன பண்ணும்னா, carbon dioxide being a gas percolates into the soil, pushing any remaining oil back into the well. They can help in better extraction of any remaining crude oil in the oil well. The oil well காலியாய் போயிருக்குன்னா அந்த இடத்துல இந்த கார்பன் டை ஆக்சைடு நீங்க கேப்சர் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க இல்லையா, you can store it and pump it into it. This is called as enhanced oil recovery. So So it என்ன பண்ணனா two things. One, it reduces emissions, and second, it is also helps in increased oil extraction, enhanced oil recovery, very often talked in the recent times. One. Second, என்னன்னா aqueous based CO2 capture. That's the next one. Aqueous based CO2 capture. So the aqueous based CO2 capture என்னன்னா it uses water based solutions. It uses aqueous நாலே remember water. Whenever the word aqueous comes, it means it contains water. So it's aqueous, okay, water based solution to capture carbon dioxide either from industrial emissions or directly from atmosphere. So direct atmosphere la kuda we can capture carbon dioxide using this. The next one what I want you guys to be aware of is in the carbon capture technologies there are three basic technologies. இது வந்து இப்போ ரீசெண்டா அதிகமா பேசப்பட்ட ஒரு technology. So that's why question have not been asked. So please prepared for that. The three இது சார் இதெல்லாம் பாருங்க first level of information in the national parks, polluting industries, இது எல்லாமே current இந்த magazine compilation இருக்காது. You wouldn't find it. அது Google search பண்ணணும். But in the programs சொன்னது தெரியுமா அது எல்லாமே you can easily find it. You put the thing, the current affairs relevant to that, somebody would have compiled it, it easily comes to you. So எங்கெல்லாம் compilation இருக்கோ அதை யூஸ் பண்ணிடுங்க. It will save your time. If it is not coming in the first page itself, you do with the CPCB, put CPCB norms. Then what comes first? You take the norms, right? So follow this method when you get extra information. So இதுல என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்னா carbon capture there are three methods. முக்கியமான methods, but question I have not been asked. So அதனால சொல்றேன். One, post combustion technology, pre combustion technology, oxy-fuel technology. These three methods. இது என்னன்னா they are called as carbon capture technologies. கார்பன் எப்படி கேப்சர் பண்ண போறோம்ன்றதுல த்ரீ மெத்தட்ஸ் இருக்கு. போஸ்ட் கம்பஷன், ப்ரீ கம்பஷன், ஆக்சி ஃபியூவல். The most efficient among the three is oxy fuel. The worst is post combustion. But being the best doesn't mean it is cheaper. It is also most costliest. Oxy fuel is the best, but it is also costliest. Most cheapest is the post, but it is not efficient. Kallakanda nayakana nayakanda kallakana. But that's what the life is, you know. What is best is not easy. Becoming IAS officer is one of the best thing that can happen in your life, but it is not easy. So எப்பவுமே அப்படிதான் இருக்கும். That's what life choices is. Okay. So அதை விட்டுருங்க. எதுக்கு environment class ethics class மாத்தக்கூடாது. So carbon capture very important. So in the carbon capture related, carbon sequestration related questions are repeating in the pollution topic. The next one, bioremediation techniques. The next one is bioremediation. Advantages of bioremediation technique கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So what we can do with this? இதுல இருந்து நாம என்ன பார்க்கலாம் அப்படின்னா, maybe I wanted to give you a kind of information about what are the different, and the bioremediation கேட்டுட்டாங்க, but I want to give you what are the different types of bioremediation, for what pollutants it can be used. So here two things comes. The pollutants that you can be exposed to, and also what is the method that we can use and what the organisms use for that. So bioaugmentation, biostimulation, phytoremediation. Phyto nale eppome plants, exactly, yes. Rhizona, rhizobium poitinga. Rhizobium na bacteria. Rhizo means roots, exactly, roots. Mycoremediation means fungi. Myco means fungi. Bioventing na supplying oxygen into the polluted sites. Okay. The only difference is without pressure. Oxygen தருவாங்க, pressure இல்லாம தருவாங்க. It's called bioventing. Biosparging is the same thing. ஏன் அப்படின்னா ஆக்சிஜன் சாயில கீழே போக போக ஆக்சிஜன் கான்சென்ட்ரேஷன், ஆக்சிஜன் அவைலபிலிட்டி கம்மியாயிடும். ஆக்சிஜன் இல்லாத பொழுது மைக்ரோ ஆர்கானிசம்ஸ் cannot function well. அப்போ ஆக்சிஜன் தரும்போது மைக்ரோ ஆர்கானிசம் ஒர்க்ஸ் ஃபாஸ்டர், they develop faster. The more they work, they will remove the pollutants from the soil. So bioremediation happens. The difference என்ன அப்படின்னா, remember venting, vent ஆகுதுன்னா pressure இல்லாம ஆகுது. So here they use oxygen, here also they use oxygen. The only difference, it doesn't use pressure, it uses pressure. Pressureோட oxygen pump பண்ணுவாங்க soil. That's a difference. Biofilters mostly used in aquaponics. என்னது எழுத மாட்டேங்குது. Aquaponics. The next one, this something that I come across many times in the news. Constructed wetlands. So very important in this bioremediation technology that I come across the constructed wetlands many times. So they use plants. For what? For the treatment of nutrients. Excessive nutrient irukku theriyuma, அதை remove பண்றதுக்கு they grow plants. It's called as constructed wetlands. Then bioreactors. Okay, இது நான் சொல்லியிருக்கேன், but I also would like to give more. Bioremediationல, yes, the first one என்ன அப்படின்னா acid mine drainage. Acid mine drainage na enna அப்படின்னா, for example, the coal has to be washed before actually being used, because coal has lot of dirt. No, it has to be actually washed. Actually Indian coal is known to be very high in ash content, and the ash, extra dirt, அதெல்லாம் எப்படி பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, they actually wash it. It's called as coal washeries. In the wash பண்ணும்போது என்ன ஆகும்னா, all the pollutants and everything also washed away with this water. So it's known to be extremely involved with water pollution. அந்த இதுதான் என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, it's called as acid mine drainage. So it is acidic wastewater generated from the coal mines containing high amounts of sulfate, iron and various toxic. எதுக்கு இத பத்தி பேசுறோம்? So two things you can know. One, what is AMD, acid mine drainage? It is a kind of a water pollution from coal mines. Second thing என்னன்னா, இதை எப்படி டீல் பண்ணலாம்? Okay, now what they say is IIT Guwahati used constructed, as I said earlier, it used a constructed wetland for the treatment of acid mine drainage. It has been proved to be working. So that has been in the news very recently, so important. So this is first such method for the bioremediation of AMD. AMD na acid mine drainage. In addition to that, so okay, இது வரைக்கும் நம்ம பார்த்துருக்கோம் இல்லையா, ஃபைட்டோ மைக்கோ இதெல்லாமே இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் மேகசின்ல கூட பார்த்துருப்பீங்க. பட் இதுல இல்லாத ரீசன்ட் டெக்னாலஜிஸ் ரெலவென்ட் டு பயோரெமிடியேஷன் என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, genetic engineering of microorganisms. Example, a bacteria called a pseudomonas have been used for PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. Second, nanoparticles also can be used. Example, zero valent iron. Good example is zero valent iron, because iron is extremely oxidizing in nature. Okay, time illa ulla poga mudiyadhu. So zero valent iron, I'm stop here. The next one is electrobioremediation. Electrobioremediation enna appadina, biodock technology paathom illaya munadi previous year question, something very similar to that. Very similar to that. What they give is, they give electric field to the contaminated soil, which may stimulate the growth of bacteria. Electrobioremediation. Then immobilized bioremediation systems. So immobilized என்ன பண்றாங்கன்னா, microorganisms soil random இருப்பாங்க, அதுக்கு பேசாம they are stuck to certain platforms. Microorganisms are immobilized on solid supports. Example is alginate beads. So these are the most recent modern technologies relevant to bioremediation, which I also would like to talk about, we discuss with. Then this is about source. Okay, I'm going to finish, don't worry. Sources, they are talking about sources. For example, agricultural emissions, source. Burning of biomass residue, source. And different things, coal-fired power plants, they are talking about sources of the pollution. So அப்படி பார்க்கும்போது I included this. What is the emission, what is the source, and some description about this. I share this with you. Methane, nitrous oxide, ammonia, this is also a growing concern in the recent times. Ammonia pollution in air. Carbon dioxide, known to us. Particulate matter, this is also, but actually there was a previous year question on VOC, so we don't have to focus much on this, but this is important, hydrogen sulfide, H2S. So, okay, okay, coming to the point, in எத்தனை slide இருக்கு? Okay. Now, here, so first they asked about the industries. Second, sources. I'm sorry, first they asked about impact. Second, they asked about sources. இப்போ இந்த கொஸ்டின் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெரியும், பொல்யூட்டன்ட்டை வச்சு கேட்டிருப்பாங்க. That pollutant coming from where? It's a reverse. For example, fertile soil where? Copper smelting. 17 polluting energies பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா, copper smelting is one among it. ஸோ இப்படி கேட்குறாங்க. இதை நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது என்ன பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னா, one common thing that I try to do is national ambient air quality standards 2004 ல இருந்து ரன் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இந்த ஸ்கீம்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா 12 pollutants are monitored. There are 12 pollutants monitored under this program NAAQS. அந்த pollutant பார்த்தா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு ஐடியா வரும். 6 here and 6 there. இதுல தான் most of the questions that have been asked relevant to this source, இதோட source என்னன்னு கேக்குறாங்க தெரியுமா? அது எல்லாமே usually comes in one among the 12. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. So what I'm saying, 12 pollutants identified in NAAQS is an important source from where questions can be triggered. Particulate matter, ozone, carbon monoxide, 6, ammonia, lead, benzene. See, benzene question earlier, most probably would have been triggered by this. Benzopyrene, arsenic and nickel. So these are the 12 pollutants monitored under this program. So I've given the sources, environmental impact and the health impact. The same repeated here. What are the sources of the pollutants? So I'll take a call here. We are coming to the moment where we have to wind up a session. I actually prepared about 130-140 slides. All the questions have been compiled. It has taken a lot of work. I'll share this PPT with you in a PDF format so that you can refer it further. But let me tell you that நீங்க revision பண்றது பண்ணுங்க, because I wanted to make sure what best that I can give to you guys in the 4 hours that I can have. Adala, I thought this would be the best way, which will help you the most. So understand, this is not something like you can, because it comes easy doesn't mean that it is valueless, right? Because I believe in the effort that I have put, and the intention of it is also good to help you guys. இல்லைன்னு ஒரு 4 question வந்தா போதும், I'll be satisfied. Mission is accomplished. So probably you'll thank me later after the exam is over. So thankலாம் பண்ண வேணாம், நினைச்சா போதும். Okay, so அது கூட வேணாம், விடுங்க. So thank you guys. So revision, நீங்க மேபி நிறைய டவுட்ஸ்லாம் வரும், அதெல்லாம் விட்டுருங்க. This is not the time for doubts. Okay, almost like you know 40 days இருக்கு, 40-45 days இருக்கு. கண்டிப்பா பண்ண முடியும். We are going to give a lot of revision also. நிறைய டெஸ்ட் வரும், டெஸ்ட் நிறைய பண்ணுங்க. Try to correct the mistakes. And I know one thing, I see, it's something like it's like world wine in the new vat anu vaanga. அதே விஷயம் நான் திரும்ப மாத்தி முலாம் போட்டு மேக்கப் போட்டு we are weaving in a different format. New wine, world wine in the new vat anu vaanga. The simple thing, don't think that you can clear by reading more. Maybe if you are giving your first attempt, maybe you have to read more. If you are giving a second attempt or third attempt, let me tell you, you cannot gain much by reading more. Maybe you are filling gaps here and there. The most important thing is you need to address the major mistakes and the errors you make during the 2 hours of your தபஸ். அந்த 2 மணி நேரம் நீங்க பண்ற ஒரு மிஸ்டேக்கை கரெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க, 4 கொஸ்டின் கரெக்ட் ஆகும். 2 மிஸ்டேக்கை கரெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க, 10 கொஸ்டின் கரெக்ட் ஆகும். தட்ஸ் இட், யூ கிளியர். But the problem என்னன்னா, they are so deep seated, these errors you make, so deep seated, you fail to recognize it. மின்னல் மாதிரி வந்துட்டு போயிடும். It comes and goes, you couldn't even recognize where you made the error. எல்லாம் முடிச்சிட்டு டிஸ்கஷன் உட்காரும் போது தான் தெரியும், அடடா என்னடா இது அப்படின்னு. Just two things. So what I will say is, இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நீங்க மென்டார்ஸா பாத்தீங்களோ இல்லையோ, this is the time to meet the mentors. Just 2 errors that you do, correct it, you clear prelims. மெயின்ஸுக்கு அதுக்கு ஒரு 2 எரர் இருக்கும், பார்த்துக்கலாம். பட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இந்த எரரை கிளியர் பண்ணிடலாம், வில் கெட் இன் டு மெயின்ஸ், ரைட்? ஸோ பெஸ்ட் விஷஸ், நல்லா ஒர்க் பண்ணுங்க, யூ கைஸ் ஆர் டூயிங் கிரேட், பட் மோர், டூ மோர், ரைட்? ஸோ பி ஹாப்பி அண்ட் பி ரிமைண்ட்ஃபுல் ஆஃப் தி ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி. தேங்க்யூ கைஸ், see you.